numerical changes that we're still working on. But the
This,
idea is
yeah,
that for the preview, the bulk of the big changes are done and implemented and available for
they
everyone to
haven't
see.
shown
And make
Condi
sure you
yet.
give your feedback. We do read all the feedback, and we do tend to make some number of adjustments based off that feedback between the preview and the patch.
Yep. We did not do a stream for the last balance stream, which was mostly aimed at, I believe, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, curbing a lot of the power scaling or power levels that we had seen in the game. I don't know if you want to talk at all about that, or if you would like to, is this patch going to be kind of a similar situation where we're mostly looking at a lot of numbers adjustments, or are we kind of thinking or shifting a little bit from that with this patch?
There's a good mix of numerical changes
Okay.
and functional changes. Obviously, we touched a lot of numbers in the last patch, and things landed in various levels of where we wanted to. Some things are still a bit too high. Some things are, a little bit lower than we'd like to see. So there will be some buffs in here as well to some of those things that landed a little bit lower than we expected. But there's also, a good number of reworks in here that'll try to, numerical changes are still important, even if they're not the most exciting. They do still have impact on the meta and how you interact with your skills and whatnot. But I know players love to see the reworks, and they're generally more exciting, and we do have a good number of those as well.
I don't know. Numbers get me excited, but maybe I'm the odd one out. Anyways, yeah, let's get into it. We can start looking at some of these changes, and as you can see there, the date for the balance patch, July 14th. That'll be coming up next month, and we're gonna start off with Warrior. Take it away.
Yeah, Warrior.
Oh,
First, starting
feels
off with
like freaking
Sword, a
bleeding.
couple of
That means they're
reworks that we're
gonna do
talking
it
about.
for grit.
Sword was a weapon that primarily, in competitive modes, was mainly used for its mobility, and it had a pretty good immobilize on the burst skill, but the other skills were not pretty good. And we wanted to see if we could make the weapon more interesting for everyone. So starting off Savage Leap, it's not going to inflict bleeding. This skill was pretty good, but we just wanted to make sure you can use it offensively when you want to. I think main thing for the sword is wanted that offensive pressure to be something it can do rather than just the mobility. A lot of times you use it for an escape. Final Thrust is getting a bit of a rework. It's going to be a two-part skill. So the first part, you're going to swing your blade in front of you and deal an immobilizing strike, and then you're going to follow up with that thrust. That Final Thrust was. It's going to lose its execute threshold and all that to just become a more consistent skill, and that's where the immobilize is going to be on the kit. The immobilize was something that was not really healthy that we see it. Flurry was where it came from, and it was instant.
Blurry.
You'd press Flurry, and instantly people would get immobilized. A lot of the time, you would press Flurry and then stow your weapon and do
Okay.
anything else because you didn't actually want to use the rest of the Flurry skill, and that's not something we really want to see. Um, so Flurry is getting a full rework. It's becoming a skill known as Bloodthirster. You're going to sweep
Nice name.
your blade around yourself, and then inflict bleeding on people. And then after you hit people, you're going to heal yourself, healing based on how heavily they were bleeding. This is going to be an AoE skill, so it can hit multiple targets, and it's going to heal you only based on one target, but it's going to pick the target that's bleeding the most, so you can get the most value from that bleeding. Um, so
Interesting.
hopefully we can see Sword become a
More
weapon that you can do a lot more dueling
Condis.
with and deal some pretty good damage without having to be locked in those long cast times.
Is there a cap on that bleed threshold? What if I hit an
There
enemy with
is
1,500 bleed stacks? Is that going
there
to be
is it caps at 25, so you're not going to get a full heal on some world bosses in PvE.
Yeah.
In
okay?
competitive
Would have
modes, that
expected you to
cap
know
is
that,
pretty
Cal.
high, so you should be not feeling it. In PvE, it's still a pretty good healing amount. And there is a baseline bleeding, so if you hit someone with 3 bleeds, you're still going to get a decent amount of healing. But hopefully it adds more fluidity to the kit and it feels a better weapon to play with.
Yeah, 1,500 bleeding stacks would be quite a bit. I wonder if
Yeah.
we've ever gotten up there. That'd be a good record. You kind of mentioned that you're thinking that this will maybe enable some duelist builds a little bit. Is this more of or is this kind of aimed at trying to change or enable a specific warrior build, or is this kind of we have a weapon that's maybe a little bit outdated in the modern Guild Wars 2 era, or a bit of both?
Yeah, I think Sword main hand is supposed to be a condition weapon, has a lot on it, but it really wasn't performing as such. A lot of condition builds. Berserker in particular would want to go Mace for that Berserker burst, and sometimes Sword was used, but a lot of other classes, Sword was just not there for it, and they were looking to other weapons. So we want to make sure that main hand conditions Sword is there for what you wanted to be doing.
Very cool. All right, moving on. Got some more core warrior updates, changes.
Yep. These, the first two are dagger changes. Offhand dagger, similarly, pretty unused weapon. So we're going to see dagger 5 is getting a rework. Dagger 4, we felt like the skill is pretty cool. It does what we want it to do. Pretty big damage, some boon removal, especially when you get that bonus, but it wasn't quite hitting hard enough. So we're increasing the power coefficient in competitive modes so it can really match something like offhand mace for the pressure. But Blade Storm was a channeled skill that I think in its best days, it was just a bad whirling axe. It didn't really deal as much damage. It kind of had some defensive components, but people really didn't want to use that skill ever. So we're going to try and like lean it to more of a utility skill. It's being renamed Hush Blade, and it's basically going to be a single strike. So you're going to do that sweep, like one of the sweeps you do in Blade Storm, and it's going to daze enemies. So it does have that long range cone part of it. It's like 300 range, so you can get pretty good distance from your enemy. It synergizes pretty well with like Spellbreaker
I'm
things.
setting
No
up
escape,
my
that's going to make it
badge
immobilize.
for
Um,
Tyria Pride.
it's going to be on the lower cooldown side.
Hold
So
on,
on
hold on.
PvE, it has 2 charges. In competitive modes, only 1. But so in PvE, it'll be pretty good at upkeeping attackers' inside stacks while still also doing some decent damage. So hopefully, offhand dagger is something you want to play on Blades or on Spellbreaker now. In competitive modes, it should be pretty good again for dueling, something Spellbreaker wants to do to
More
keep up in
Condi,
those 1v1s.
Condi Ritz.
Cool. Some hammer
And
changes?
then we have for Hammer, these are just some damage bonuses for PvE. After the patch we had, we noticed that Hammer was doing a bit too low. The
Let
numbers surrounding
me
Hammer, like defense, we were happy with, but
disconnect
Hammer
my
itself we felt
phone.
could use just a little more, so we're buffing up at Hammer numbers itself.
Cool. Very cool. Very straightforward. And moving on, we got some Bladesworn updates.
Oh.
A little exciting
Yeah.
stuff here.
Decent number of
Oh, you
Bladesworn
can move
updates
while
for this
channeling.
patch. We see
Still
kind of on the
can't move
first
doing 100 blade
set of
skills.
skills here is we're allowing you to get a little bit of movement while channeling, holding your Dragon Slash, preparing your Dragon Slash. This is something that we did with Deadeye's Kneel, where we see a little bit of
Condi
movement. Is
Ritz.
there's opportunity to not be full speed, obviously, but having that little bit of extra mobility allows you to position a little bit better, or avoid things that you might otherwise not be able to. So that's just what we see here. Some nice little mobility update for Dragon Trigger and the Dragon Slashes being able to kind of move during the casting of the skill as well. Just a little bit more flexibility in how you're able to use these skills.
A lot of
Yeah, I think,
Bladesworn enjoyers in the chat, it looks
important-
like. Sorry, go ahead, Taylor.
Important to call out with Boost that it's becoming ground targeted. So before it would send you the full distance in one direction, but now Boost, if you only want to go just a little bit of that, you can target it and it'll bring it to you. It feels pretty fluid. It's similar to some of the other movement skills that have been added. So hopefully you can use that and not worry about just going off a boss arena or something and dying.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice usability improvement for that type of skill.
Yeah, very cool. Continuing on.
And moving into some of the more exciting changes here, I see some improvements to some of the utility skills. The big changes here are coming from the traits here at the bottom. We're going to see a few different reworks to the adaptier traits, and these are going to try to introduce some additional playstyles
I'm
for
setting up
Bladesworn.
my
So we see
Tyria Pride
Swift as the Wind becoming
badge
Sharp as the Wind.
right
This
now.
is going to modify a lot of the Gun Saber skills and the Dragon Slash skills to be more condition focused. So, Condi Bladesworn, hopefully something that is going to be a bit more viable. You can obviously play with the new sword. You can play with the new trait to get, essentially the Condi version of all of the
Condi
Bladesworn skills. And similarly, we have
They're adding
River's
Condi.
Flow here is going to be more of a supportive shift in those skills as well. This is going to be,
Sorry.
Bladesworn is probably going to be a little bit
They're
more
yapping too
unorthodox support character that we've seen in a few cases where maybe not the most expected elite spec to play a support build, but we've seen some of these definitely work out, and Core Rearer does have a decent number of support tools available to them. So we've had a decent amount of excitement from this trait internally, and we want to really see how it plays once it's actually out there for the greater player base. So maybe support Bladesworn, Condi Bladesworn. These can be additional playstyles for Bladesworn, which is obviously a very good power DPS at the moment, but not a whole lot outside of that.
Very cool. All right, moving on. Even more Bladesworn changes. Wow. Bladesworns are eating good today.
More Bladesworn changes. We see a lot of the supportive elements here. We see, again, strike and condition damage coming from Fierce as Fire. It's based off ammunition spent. Excuse me. Again, just trying to flesh out those playstyles for the Condi build and the support build that don't have a whole lot of trait support right now because we didn't really expect them to exist. But now that we're kind of expecting them to exist, we now see Unshakable Mountain giving some barrier to allies, Immortal Dragon granting protection to allies, and then Daring Dragon. This is in addition to its current functionality. It's just going to kind of improve your Dragon Slash skills, and that's going to affect all the different variations of Dragon Slash now, whether it's the power version or the Condi version or the more supportive version.
Cool. Now, this might be slightly out of the scope of this balance stream, so feel free to expand on this as little or as much as you like, but do you feel that this is kind of something that was always sort of intended for Bladesworn to have multiple different build types? Could be playing Condi, could be playing support, obviously a lot of, as a power DPS, or is this something that we're just kind of trying to enable now more so with these changes?
They're adding Condi to Bladesworn? Is this real? They're adding Condi to Bladesworn, so there's literally Condi Writ is real.
Every elite spec needs 3 different playstyles or whatever number you want to lock into. But we do feel like Bladesworn was a bit limited in it essentially had like one real playstyle, and it's very good at doing that. But
there's no way they don't add Condi Writ, because then it'll be like the only spec with no Condi.
Some of the traits that didn't play as well with like the core Bladesworn playstyle to introduce an alternative build. It's always going to be a DPS build, so we felt that adding the Condi build could be a very interesting.
Condi Writ! That's made. Oh my god. If they don't add Condi Writ to this,
it's definitely.
I will.
Add some more big, iconic, competitive traits.
Look, they literally just said that it's a DPS and they want to add Condi. So if they don't add Condi Writ, I'll be really sad.
Unshakable Mountain, but a lot of these supportive elements will obviously be beneficial to you as well. So it's kind of almost enhancing like the more bruisery playstyle of Bladesworn, but then it's also extending to your allies. And it might be something that doesn't necessarily work as well in practice, but I think that we want to see how it plays. Like I said, we've been playing with it internally. There's a decent amount of excitement, so we want to see how it plays once more people get their hands on it. But this could end up shifting to just be more focused on like that.
No, I'll never buy Roller Panda.
Control-y aspects, but the support Bladesworn could be pretty interesting as well.
Hold on.
Thank you for that. And all right, that's going to wrap up the warrior changes. So we're going to be moving on to Thief now.
Yes. The first thing for Thief, pretty big. Pistol Whip is getting reworked. Pistol Whip for the longest time in competitive modes was not a really skill you wanted to press. In PvE, it really wasn't used for its damage, which you would think it was. It's more used for the control from it. If you were to press it. So we decided that Sword Pistol is a weapon set that has a lot of utility inside it. You have the Infiltrator Strike, you have Headshot, and Black Powder. That really what you wanted to have a complete kit was just a skill that did damage and be kind of cool at it. So it's now going to be changed and reworked to Flawless Execution. You're going to spin around while you shoot your pistol at nearby enemies and also strike. So it's going to be a skill that's similar to Whirling Wrath. You'll shoot your pistol at targets that it's not going to do random angles like Whirling Wrath. It'll shoot to targets, so it'll actually hit them and strike them. And then at the end, you'll do a powerful forward slash when you come out of the spin. So hopefully this ends up being a DPS skill that makes Sword Pistol a weapon set that is more desirable in all game modes. In PvE should do pretty good damage to use it as just a DPS. In competitive modes, you can find the right opportunities to go in. You are pretty vulnerable. It's not an evade or anything while you're spinning around. So you need to make sure that you're not going to get blown up when you go in. But hopefully it does enough damage. You have that Sword Pistol, stealth in, go in with Infiltrator Strike and then hit them for pretty big damage. So Sword Pistol, hopefully
never joining proper Panda.
Or have another dagger weapon set, then you swap the Sword Pistol, but we want this to be kind of the main reason that you want to play the weapon.
We did get a new animation. Taylor said he was gonna
a new animation
for us.
I have to stand up. It's a lot. You spin around, do a lot of slashes. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of gunshots.
New animation.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, awesome. All right, very cool.
Huge. New animations. New
Alright,
Condi
also
writ
some other
animations.
updates to some other utility skills.
Yep,
And
these
the
are
rifle
kind of
skill.
miscellaneous things. Death Advance, it's gonna get some QOL of how to use this skill. So when you are kneeled and you press the cover, it will now automatically swap to Death Advance, even if you're not.
They turned
It's not your
Pistol Whip
cover.
into
It's kind of
Samira.
blood since you're putting that cover
Samira
through
ult.
anyways, so you just want to move forward through it to get that combo, that stealth. And then also, alternatively, while you are standing in the cover, it's going to become a ground targeted skill. So if you don't necessarily want to go forward and you're still kneeled, you can use it to ground target close to yourself or behind, what have you. So just more control over where this is leading you to hopefully be better in, those moments where you're in terrain that it gets really wonky.
Yeah.
Smoke screen, this is also getting a rework. It's no longer going to pulse blindness within, but instead it's going to be a ring, kind of like Ring of Fire, that when you traverse through it, it is going to do some things. It's not going to burn like Ring of Fire, but instead it's going to inflict debilitating conditions as you pass through the smoke screen. Things like weakness, blindness, because you're so flustered, you're confused. You just walk through the smoke screen.
More
you don't know.
spinning.
But additionally, some additional functionality. Is that you're going to gain stealth when you yourself exit the smoke screen. It's just you, not your ally,
Roller
so it's not
Panda
real,
is awful.
But this is also just another.
They should add a
it's another
patch note
option
to
for
remove
stealth.
it.
That's pretty good. You can use it, fight people within it, but when they leave, you can also leave and get that advantage onto them. Signet of Shadows, this is getting reworked to be another stealth utility to give more options than just black powder. So now you have smoke screen, you also have Signet of Shadows. Before, it was just a button that you pressed that did a lot of like random conditions on people, and it made them like, oh my god, that's so annoying. But it was just like an annoyance. It wasn't really worth ever using. But now it is going to grant you stealth and swiftness and remove movement impairing conditions from yourself. So it's pretty get out of dodge skill. Increasing the cooldown in competitive modes is pretty strong, but hopefully, a lot more utility gives this, some room to shine and be its own skill. Then lastly, we have Shadow Refuge. Shadow Refuge, if people remember, at the very beginning of this game was a very strong skill, and then, the strategy against it was, the thief can't leave it, they're going to get revealed, so you just cleave down, and those strategies have gotten a lot more prevalent. So we're adding some condition damage and strike damage reduction to allies inside the Shadow Refuge to, when you're inside it, be an actual refuge for you, take reduced damage. You're also going to get that healing from it, does some pretty nice healing, so hopefully this is a good defensive skill for people that want, both the defense and also gives a really long stealth to allow you to reposition.
Cool.
I looked at something on my wall behind. There's actually a spider coming right towards me.
Oh.
Cute.
Distracted for a minute.
Spider mount.
It's
Spider
probably fine,
mount.
but some people may have noticed me looking like off the camera.
That's scary.
That was me looking at the spider.
Yeah.
No, the only thing scarier than
Leave the spider alone.
that you can no longer see.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't stealth, right?
No, it's still there. I can see it.
Yep. All right, moving on.
Justice
Hopefully
for the
Cal will stay with us
spiders.
And not have to run away. I would have left the room, but
It's not a big spider. If it was a big spider, I'd be out of the room by now.
All right.
Some,
Thief traits.
Yep. Trait updates, even the odds. It's no longer going to apply might, but instead it's going to inflict conditions. I think here we really wanted to lean into deadly arts, applying some debilitating conditions, because it has both that poison for condition damage builds, but it also really wants to be that like power line where you inflict these debilitating conditions and you get the damage bonus from the minor traits. So cripple and blindness.
I know,
when you
spiders
strike
are
with your
cute.
Stealth attack. That could be a pretty good opener, blinding people when you come out of stealth. And then the cripple to just give another unique condition. So hopefully even the odds is a more appealing option. Improv is now going to give Spectre some additional Shadow Force when siphoning. Obviously Improv doesn't do anything for Spectres because they don't have stolen skills, so they can't use anything.
Are these all
So
Spectre
while you still get
traits?
the cooldown reduction from using it, we want this little added bonus. Potent poisons is pretty much what you're always seeing on Spectre, but Improv just want another option there for people that wanted it. Lotus Poison is now going to give might when you poison. So just another tie-in for the power
I
build.
feel like this is Deadly Arts.
Deadly Arts, the poison here, you're still inflicting it, but it's not going to do much damage. You're getting that heal reduction, but now the might on top of it should be an extra reward, help it feel good. Panic Strikes. This was a trait that, again,
Panda
a
Strikes.
long time ago was really good, but over time got nerfed due to its uncontrollability, some might say. Wasn't really a great trigger. We don't like those health threshold ones, so we're changing it now that it's a set number of conditions. So I think it's either 3 or 4. So once they have that many unique conditions, you're going to get that. So it should be a lot more controllable with even the odds and like poison on steel, stuff like that. It's going to be pretty easy to hit those, so you know that you're going to get this immobilized. So it should be a lot stronger, and hopefully, you know, make deadly arts stack up better to things like shadow arts or crit strikes. Lastly, Rending Shade. It's going to get some unique functionality. Instead of inflicting fear, it's going to destroy the barrier on stealth attacks that hit a boonless foe. Should be pretty, pretty niche, we think, but sometimes niche things are pretty interesting for what they can do. So, specific bosses in PvE can break that barrier, kind of like Amalgam got the ability to, or in PvP versus certain builds that may not have a lot of boons. If you steal their boons and hit them with a stealth attack, it's going to rip the barrier as well for a lot of burst. But then we can move on to the last changes for Thief, which are going to be Deadeye, which are 2 changes, but I think they're pretty impactful. The first one is Deadeye's Mark is now going to be fully instant, and on top of that, it is going to shadow step you like normal steel when you use a melee weapon. This should hopefully open up a lot of build opportunities for Deadeye in competitive modes. When you have those melee weapons like dagger or sword, you really want that shadow step option, but Deadeye didn't bring it, so you felt like you had to use these ranged weapons to make value for it. But now you can do things like Deadeye's Mark into Cloak and Dagger and then Backstab. Malicious Backstab is a very strong skill. It does 10% more damage for each point of malice, so that's a lot of damage. So, Glass Cannon, Deadeye's, they're going to be pretty scary with this change. So hopefully, I've been playing with it. It's pretty fun to play with. I feel like people feel it's pretty smooth. So this is pretty exciting. And then Silent Scope, this trait has been reworked. Before this granted you stealth on dodge with a rifle, which was incredibly strong to the point that Deadeye itself was balanced around this. We had a lot of traits that said if you had this trait, it also is worse. It just was a lot, and we decided it's just not healthy to have this mechanic. So we are removing that, and now the trait is going to give you precision with extra precision when you get stealth. To get more opportunities for crits, some bonuses for stealthing, but not give you that very easily accessible source of stealth.
Quick question about the
That's kind of-
Deadeye's Mark. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to mention that this is also kind of the idea behind some of the utility skill reworks for additional stealth sources. We are taking away this pretty reliable stealth source from Deadeye, but now there's some potentially more interesting options in the utility slot, which obviously are going to be longer cooldown,
Deadly
a
farts.
bit more controllable because we did have pretty big concerns with Silent Scope.
Yeah. I was just going to quickly ask for the Deadeye's Mark change. So it says
Oh,
only melee weapons, right? So obviously not if you're using a ranged weapon. Is this does that work if you're using a dagger in the offhand or only main hand?
It does check your main hand.
Gotcha.
So if you're something like pistol dagger, it will not teleport you. You have to be dagger pistol, for example.
Cool. Awesome. All right. As Taylor said, I think this is it for the Thief changes, but some very interesting stuff. Some cool Deadeye changes. Some nice stealth buffs there. And we're moving on to Revenant.
All right, we got some Revenant changes. So first couple notes here. Again, Hammer landing a little bit below where we like to see after our big PV damage pass. So a couple of nice damage increases here, hopefully to bring it a little bit more in line. Right of the Great Dwarf, this is getting a bit, kind of more of like a shuffle around of how the functionality works. Right now it's obviously just a large strike damage reduction that then becomes a strike and condition damage reduction when you have Versed in Stone. We are shifting that around so that it's going to be lower damage reduction, but it will always give you strike and condition damage reduction. And then if you have the trait, it will bring it up to that 50% number. So this will make it just a lot more reliable for builds that either want to take a different
Dwarf
Grandmaster trait in that
stance.
slot, or they want to play a different trait line entirely.
Is
You'll
that
still be able to
Hammer?
Play Jealous. Get
Hammer
Dwarf is a
rev
pretty powerful
confirmed.
defensive skill, and it will feel just a little bit more consistent than it does right now.
Cool. Continue on. Renegade
We can
changes.
move on to some
Oh.
Renegade changes. So a lot of trait reworks here, or trait updates here, because we felt that a lot of the Renegade traits aren't the most exciting or the most impactful. There's a little bit of wasted space, kind of. So we felt that we could rework a few things here. Ashen Demeanor, this is just one of the adept traits getting a little bit of a rework. Might Resistance and Fervor on healing skill. We had the Resistance trait in the Master tier slot that hasn't been seeing a ton of play, Bold Reversal. We still think it's like a valuable still valuable boon, and putting it on kind of a easier to or a less competitive trait slot, because obviously the adept traits are all your Kala's fervor traits. So now you're still going to be getting your fervor, but now you can get resistance. You can get some might as well. Could be slightly more appealing, and then give access to that resistance. That's pretty useful. Bold reversal. Now we have room in that slot for something a little bit more exciting. This is just going to improve all your Citadel order skills. So we see Heroic Command, also granting swiftness.
Citadel order.
Going to be doing some vulnerability, and orders from above will be pulsing protection as well. So a nice
Amazon orders.
nice little benefit for kind of all the builds. Obviously a little bit more supporty, but we do have that just general mobility and vulnerability. Nice little damage boost in especially in competitive modes where you're not already hitting vulnerability cap. Heart Piercer, we've essentially taken the strike damage bonus from All for One. This trait that we weren't super happy with. It's always been intended to be more of that Kala stance trait, but it's been pretty generic. Had the protection for a long time. Then we had kind of the strike damage bonus as okay, well, maybe power DPS builds will play Kala, and this is where their strike damage bonus comes from. But it's just not super interesting. It's not really what we were hoping for that trait. So moving that strike damage bonus into Heart Piercer, just going to be part of or a bonus against bleeding enemies, still going to be giving that bleeding bonus as well. So it'll just be more of a generic DPS trait that either strike or condition damage builds can play. And then All for One is going to be more of that Kala stance trait. This is going to be anytime you trigger Band Together, which is the mechanic of the Kala stance, that after you use
all in
use one of
this
the Kala stance
together.
skills, you can then reactivate your next Kala stance skill instantly, and it gets some nice little bonuses. So anytime you trigger that Band Together, it will reduce the recharge time of the enhanced skill and also give you some energy back. So will allow you to kind of keep chaining those skills together. The numbers are going to be a bit different for PvE and PvP because we do obviously have some concerns about making the giving too much energy to this build, especially in PvP. But we feel that this is just a little bit more of a true Kala stance trait. So we think it's a pretty exciting mechanic, and we're excited.
Hi, Alira.
Then we have a couple of updates to the Grandmaster traits as well. Vindication, no longer going to get extra missiles. There's a little bit of concern around, how much one-shot capability this really added to the skill when you are able to get the full missile count and they all land. It does a bit too much damage. We're pretty happy with how much damage the skill does just by default, but then the extra missiles kind of pushed over the top. So we're shifting that more into more of a control bonus. We get that extra daze. The first time a missile strikes an enemy, you will daze them. So that can obviously daze a pretty large number of enemies as well, because there are so many different missiles, but it will only daze an individual target once per skill. And then Righteous Rebel, getting a little bit of a healing bonus here to Orders from Above. We did kind of shuffle around what the other half of this trait did to be more healing centric, so pushing it into more of that truly heal renegade type of trait. Obviously, it will still do the things that it previously does, but in addition, you will get some extra healing from that. So now take Righteous Rebel, Bold Reversal, Orders from Above is going to be a pretty strong skill. Getting that healing, getting that protection, increased duration, and all that good stuff.
Quite a few sort of like a variety of changes with these traits. Some supporty stuff, a little bit of damage boosting, some utility. Is this kind of trying to push Renegade towards a specific role, or a couple different roles, or is this kind of just we weren't really happy with where we were seeing the Renegade in general, and we wanted to change up how the traits were functioning and its utility skills or functional.
Next.
The two DPS builds kind of always existed. You always have the power DPS Renegade or the Condi DPS Renegade, and then support Renegade. It's kind of hit or miss, but the stance itself has supportive elements. You obviously have the heal that heals your allies. You have the life stealing. There's some defensive boons sprinkled in there as well. So there is, some amount.
If Conduit is real,
could exist, and we felt that since this trait had already been pushed a little bit,
I don't know.
that we could push it even more in that direction and really try to enable that.
I can't commit to anything. I'll be scared.
All right, moving forward, we've got Ranger, everyone's favorite green class.
I saw green and I almost choked on my water.
Expert will be taking these notes over.
Yep. So this is going to be a pretty druid heavy.
I should have worn a green shirt for Necro.
Go for the ferocious strength. These are.
Do they go by colors? So maybe green.
We like, so we're little
Necro
bit.
next.
And Gale Shot Strike is getting a buff. We think Gale Shot itself is in a pretty good place, but Shrike was an alternative Grandmaster trait that in the beta was very, very strong, and we nerfed it a lot. But we do know that it's a playstyle people enjoy, so we want to make sure it's still viable. So we are bumping it up and keeping an eye on it. But at the top, we see Astral Wisp. It says it's getting reworked. The core skill is going to do the same thing, just going to be different. Before, you'd send out a Wisp that would hit an enemy or an ally and then circle around them healing. This meant that to get allies, you had to ally target them. In a lot of cases, you didn't want to click them, or if your enemy's far away or moves, you'd lose that healing. So now it's going to function where you're going to send out a wisp to a target location, and then at the wisp it'll detonate and attach to allies, and then those allies will get healed. So it's going to be a ground targeted skill. Your allies are there, you press it, and then it's going to attach to your allies, and they're going to get healed. So should be a lot easier to use. And then we can move on where we see glyphs for druids. All of them are getting a small change. Basically, for most of them, the support radius is getting normalized to 360. Save Glyph of Equality for stability. But so Glyph of Rejuvenation, 300 360. Glyph of Alignment, Wind Celestial Avatar, 300 360. Just make it easier to get the support out of these skills. We feel like what they do is pretty good. Just sometimes it might be hard to actually get to your allies. Glyph of Equality, it's now going to apply stability in PvP as well and give the stability stacks from 1 to 2. Just a bit better stab for Druid. We don't want to go too much on it. They have, the Elite if you want stability as well, but can be an option in PvP specifically. A lot of these changes are to address that Druid is not a viable support in PvP specifically, and that's something that there's a lot of reasons for, but we're trying to shore up there so it can be a more potential pick. A lot of the times, having tools to heal outside of Celestial Avatar is something you're lacking, which can feel pretty bad, and the ability to get into Celestial Avatar is just not there compared to other supports, so a lot of these are aimed at taking care of that. Glyph of the Tides, it's now going to knock down instead of knock back in PvP. Glyph of the Tides was problematic before for decap druids. Turns out when you give knockbacks to things that could be pretty tanky, they'll just be as tanky as possible and use a knockback to decap the point, which can be a very effective strategy sometimes. It is very, not very engaging and unfun to play with. So this skill had a very long cooldown for what it did because of that. So we are in PvP only, it will knock down, and we're reducing the cooldown. In Worldly World and PvE, it'll continue to knock back. We know that the knockback from this skill does have a lot of interesting applications, so it's staying there. But then we can move on to Glyph of Unity. This was a skill that was pretty homeless. In outside of Celestial Avatar, it kind of gave you that old retaliation effect, which was ostensibly to build up Celestial Avatar energy, Druid fluid, if you will.
Druid fluid.
When you were in Celestial Avatar, it would kind of copy your healing, but when you're in Celestial Avatar, you don't really need more healing. You have a lot of healing there. So this is going to be completely reworked and renamed Glyph of Burgeoning. When you are outside of Celestial Avatar, it's going to heal nearby allies and grant you Astral Force. So this is going to be, I need to be in state now, but I need Celestial Avatar juice. And I'm going to press this button. So it's going to heal people and then get you there so you can heal some more. When you're
Not
in Celestial Avatar, you
bad.
don't really need that healing. So you're going to give allies Barrier instead, some more damage reduction, and also grant them Endurance. So supporting against some other ways that aren't just, healing your allies when you're in Celestial Avatar. And we'll get into that when we talk about a trait. I think it's on the next slide.
Cool. I'm particularly interested in hearing more about that druid fluid you mentioned, but we can maybe.
What else are you supposed to call it? It rhymes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love rhyming.
Yes.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Less annoying in Worldly World.
First page of actual druid things. Celestial Avatar, it's getting its cooldown slightly reduced. This is a change we're going to keep our eye on. It was at 20 seconds for a reason. Druid can be pretty scary when it's not being a support, but it's becoming a side node bunker. But we felt like if we wanted to give support Druid a chance, we want to do this change and see how it plays. If it doesn't end up, might go back to 20, but, want to go out on a limb, see what happens. Rejuvenating Tide, this is also a pretty big change. It's no longer going to be channeled, and its radius is increased from 240 to 300. Rejuvenating Tides it honestly didn't feel good to press. its healing wasn't as good for a channeled skill, and a lot of contemporary skills were not channels. So this is it's still going to be an attached water field around you, but you just press it and the water field is there. So then you can combo with some other things like
It's fun. It's like
3 skills,
NG
your impact,
heal.
get that blast from your own water field, and hopefully the radius itself should also be better to get some healing out of this skill. Druidic Clarity, increasing the radius 300 360. Talked about normalizing the things to be just a bit bigger. Cultivated Synergy, this is going to be a pretty big change, where it is moving to the Grandmaster tier. And then when you use a healing skill, instead of just doing that heal around you and your pet, it's going to heal around your pet and create a water field attached to them. And then you're going to have a passive that whenever you blast a water field, you're going to grow a seed of life at the location. So it's going to give you some Condi cleanse when you blast those water fields. You have that 4 now that you can blast pretty freely. You're going to have the one around your pet. Healing Spring if you use that. Staff 5, listing all the healing fields or the water fields. But should be pretty interesting. The Seed of Life right now is just the same Seed of Life that you use while you're in Celestial Avatar, but it is not going to be a light field because it would be annoying if you were blasting your water field and then suddenly you were blasting a light field because it popped up. But other than that, so this one's kind of just get some more Condi cleanse as a Grandmaster trait. We'll go into which Grandmaster trait it's replacing. That'll make more sense on the next page. But the last
Not just leaving an empty slot.
thing here is Blood Moon. Talking about things that are kind of annoying when we talk about the side note is that the days on entering Celestial Avatar, it was just kind of unneeded from this trait. Blood Moon already, just from its passive, does a lot, and we didn't feel like the days on it was fun to play around. So we're making sure that that's not a thing you have to worry about anymore. We feel like Blood Moon itself is still a very strong trait that can stand on its own. Hopefully, removing the days feels better to play against druids as well, because that's also an important aspect.
All right. Moving on. Next
Then
slide.
we can move on to the last page of random changes. This is
Last
pretty
page.
exciting, especially for
Necro
PvP.
next.
The important one is Grace of the Land is being moved to the Master tier. This is going to enable a quickness, or not quickness, sorry, and a DPS alacrity build for Druid. That was a previous problem, is that Ranger itself didn't have
No!
a alacrity build. And that was due to a lot of, DPS Druid existed, but a lot of it was because of Eclipse and the passive it gave. And we felt like Eclipse was a pretty solid Grandmaster trait. It made sense to be Grandmaster, and moving it wouldn't be great. So we're moving Grace of the Land to be a Master tier. So you're going to have your choice now. DPS can go for Eclipse, but also supports can now get Lingering Light or the new Grandmaster trait to have like a more fun healing trait, while also applying Alacrity.
Grace of the Land is the
Go back
alacrity
to the
trait,
top,
right?
Celestial Shadow, radius increase, standardizing radii. Verdant Etchings, this is moving to the Adept tier where Cultivated Synergy was, and it's getting a bit of a tweak. It's still going to apply protection when you use a glyph, but only while in Celestial Avatar form. When you're outside of Celestial Avatar form, your glyphs are going to heal people. This is, again, we talked about having healing skills outside of being in Celestial Avatar, so now your glyphs can help shore up people. And then when you're in Celestial Avatar and you have the healing, you can still apply that protection, that damage reduction when you need it. Natural Balance is no longer going to grant concentration. This is going to stay the DPS trait that's, there to balance the Grace of the Land for the Alacrity. And then Lingering Light, this is going to be probably the trait that most support druids take, if not the new Cultivated Synergy. So it was very strong on its own for what it was, because in PvE you couldn't really take it, you needed the Alacrity. So now the maximum stacks are going to 10 to 5, so you're still going to get that discount. It's not going to be a full discount. And in PvP they're getting that 5 seconds off that the difference would be just baseline. So if you have this trade, it's still going to be that same reduced recharge. So hopefully Druid, 2 big notes are that in PvP hoping to aim for support to be viable, and in PvE also making that DPS Alacrity build possible.
Would you say this is more of just kind of reworking some stuff to make those builds you mentioned just feel better and easier to play, or just are they just also like straight up buffs and it's just kind
Condi
of
Ritz.
making those specs or roles stronger?
Condi
Yeah, I
Ritz.
think for the most part it is just making things work better and feel better. I think in PvE, some of these are certainly are buffs, but I don't think it'll be like huge. That we thought that Druid's power level itself was pretty decent. It's just like some of those builds just weren't able to be played. We know in World v World Druid is still pretty strong. We're definitely going to keep our eye on these changes. We know that it is a very popular pick, and our goal is not to make it even stronger. So, based on the preview, might have some downward adjustments based on feedback, but we are monitoring there. PVE, like we said, we're keeping an eye on the side note Druid. It's something that
Manifesting.
we don't want necessarily get much stronger, but we do want to
Hype
make sure that
up.
there's room for just pure support Druid to be a thing and something people have the option to explore.
Cool.
Is
Awesome.
it next?
All right, as you mentioned, I believe that's it for Ranger.
No!
Everyone's favorite blue class, Guardian.
They're literally doing it last. Why are they're doing
Yeah,
this
we
to me
can talk
on
about some Guardian
purpose?
stuff. So the first page here, why not? We might as well. We are here. We could also skip it. But
I don't think
we'll cover the Guardian stuff. So a few changes here at the start. We've been making adjustments like this to a number of the symbols where they don't need to have, but we'd like them to have some initial value attached to the skill because the symbols are still good, and in some modes they're less reliable. You're not
This
getting the
is
full
like
damage or the full effectiveness of standing inside of it.
off.
So we want there to be some initial value, such that if you aren't able to stand it the whole time, you're still feeling pretty good about the skill. So we see here, symbol of swiftness, getting just a little bit of super speed on the initial pulse there. Cooldown's going to go up in PvP and World v World because staff as a whole is already a pretty good weapon in these modes. Symbol of swiftness kind of the least exciting of those skills, so we are giving a little bit of a power bump, but trading off with a little bit of an increased cooldown as well. Symbol of vengeance, now going to give to inflict daze on the initial strike. This is no longer tied to a firebrand trait. We'll get to that note later. This is now going to be available for everyone. We obviously saw this weapon is pretty good for firebrand because you have access to the daze on symbol of vengeance, but for everyone else, it's generally unplayable, unusable, not very good. So we felt that putting that daze on there would just make it a bit more accessible to every Guardian specialization. And again, just a little bit of a cooldown bump to compensate for that power level increase. Symbol of energy, getting an initial bump similar to like the resolution symbol on Greatsword. The initial strike will do increased damage. This won't actually be a DPS increase in PvE. We've reduced the pulsing symbol so that it should be exactly the same amount of total damage. PvP and World v World, it will be a little bit more damage overall, but again, if you are locking someone in that symbol for the full duration, you probably deserve that damage increase. It's just going to be a little bit more on the front half of shoot the projectile, land, explode, get a nice little bit of damage, and then we'll have that pulsing as we already do. Hunter's Ward, nice little kind of usability improvement for PvP. The ring duration being 5 seconds. It's a powerful skill, but we felt that it's so infrequent that shifting a little bit of the power down 3 seconds is still pretty good CC. Now it's going to be available more frequently, so we're hoping that it is just a little bit more of a exciting skill. Longbow, symbol of energy getting above. We'll see some dragon hunter changes as well. We'd like to see a little bit more longbow in PvP.
Cool. And here are the dragon hunter changes.
Yep, a good chunk of Dragon Hunter changes here. We see some healing numbers going up, wings resolve. This is the healing number that other game modes use.
Healing Dragon Hunter.
Getting a nice little buff there. Purification, just a little bit of a bump here. It is a pretty strong heal between the heal you get when you place it, the heal you get when it gets triggered, and then also the regeneration on top. But this should make it just a little bit more competitive with other healing skills that have been kind of improved. Signa Resolve, much better skill than it used to be. So we're hoping that Purification is a little bit more exciting for Dragon Hunters. Test of Faith, we're really pushing the kind of CC, the combo-centric aspect.
You have to
of the
be
skill
pulled
where
through it.
It
You could
feels
walk out
pretty
and you'll
bad
be okay.
to take a lot of damage just for walking through the skill. We've seen this in the past on a lot of other skills like Ring of Fire back when the pass-through burn was pretty significant. It didn't feel like there was a lot of you can obviously still play around it, but it's not necessarily where we're happy putting that damage. We really like the combo aspect of Dragon Hunter with like the spear pull or the shield knock to
I know.
just all the different combos of knocking someone or pulling someone through your Test of Faith. So we are reducing the damage and then really increasing the bonus damage against controlled enemies. As you see, the 200% damage increase. This will be the same number on that CC'd damage number, while just reducing the amount of damage that you feel like you take somewhat randomly by walking through the test of faith.
Right. I think that's important to point out. I see a lot of reactions from chat that 200% is a big number, but the total damage you get from being CC'd through it is the same as it is now. It's just that when you walk through it, or just it just clips you, it's going to do a lot less damage then. So this should feel a lot better to play against than it does now.
All right, so rewarding
see
the
the-
Dragon Hunter combo, but not punishing players quite as much when they're not getting CC'd.
We can see the math here. 1.88 times 1.33 will give
Not
you
them
some number
clocking
that
them.
may or may not be equivalent to 0.833 times 3. It should at least be pretty close.
We love numbers. All right.
Not them
moving on,
clocking them with math. I'm crying.
Procession of Blades, Dragon Maw. These are two skills that are kind of related. We've seen in the past Dragon's Maw got nerfed
Where's
pretty
Necro?
significantly in PvP, and a lot of this was due to just the ability of Dragon Hunter to place a Procession of Blades and a Dragon's Maw kind of off in the distance and then go do things on the rest of the map. This was a pretty punishing playstyle, especially at certain levels in PvP that we saw. And we feel like Procession of Blades is kind of more of the problem there anyway. So we felt that we can hit Procession of Blades pretty hard, make it so it's not going to be the most powerful skill. It still does a decent amount of damage if you stand it the whole time, but it's not going to be that super powerful, like huge burst of damage that it is right now, or even was before. And that gives us a bit more comfort in bringing Dragon's Maw back down. Not quite where it used to be, but it is going to be more available. This is one of the more iconic skills of Dragon Hunter is the Dragon's Maw, being able to get that big CC, set up a lot of your
Better than
other
having
skills. Maybe not as
RI
happy with
or
Procession
whatever.
of Blades being the big payoff there, but getting a nice combo off inside your Dragon's Maw. We're hoping that this shift of balance makes Procession of Blades feel a little bit less overpowering in some cases, while also giving Dragon Hunter availability for that really strong moment with Dragon's Maw. Then we see a couple of trait changes here, just fleshing out a little bit more of Dragon Hunter's defensive traits, especially Hunter's Determination. This is like a really interesting trait that hasn't seen a ton of play, so we're adding a little bit of endurance on that. This is still going to be all of your elite skills stun break, but also they will now give you a little bit of endurance, and that is going to play into the update to Hunter's Fortification, which will, in addition to when you block an attack, this will also trigger when you evade an attack, and those will actually be 2 separate cooldowns. So if you block an attack, that'll go on its 2-second cooldown, but then you can evade an attack within that 2-second window. That'll still trigger it, and then that'll go on its own 2-second recharge. So there is a little bit of a buff here to make it a little bit more potent as a defensive option, and a little bit more of a flexible defensive option. This has obviously been pretty strong in the past with things that create a lot of Aegis sources or a lot of blocks. Now it's going to be a little bit more consistent for builds that are not leaning as heavily into those blocks.
Nice. Quick question. What do you think is better, blocking an attack or evading an attack?
Which one is better?
Yeah, which one's better?
Blocking is better because you can attack back. If you're evading, you're doing an animation.
I generally like evading attacks.
Oh, okay.
But I think the classes I play don't have as many blocks. So.
Dodge Enjoyer. Gotcha. Bias.
I do like dodge. Dodge is kind of the heart of the Guild Wars 2 combat system. So.
Okay.
What is heavier, Roy? A pound of feathers or a pound of steel?
It's obviously steel. Come on, chat, back me up on this. All right, moving on.
Uh-oh.
A British pound is heavier.
Yep. So here's the note I talked about before. No longer going to inflict daze on Symbol of Vengeance, and we are bumping up the bleeding duration because trait would be pretty bad in PvP and Worldly World without that. Trait's obviously still fine in PvE, so this is just again, the goal of this change was to shift the daze onto Axe as a core functionality so that other elite specializations or Core Guardian could feel good about using Axe. And then power for power, nice little damage bump here. This is another case of Power Willbender landed a little bit lower than we were hoping, and so here's a little bit of a damage boost to bring it back up. And I will say, our goal with a lot of these damage bumps is not to like increase beyond our targeted goal for like where DPS builds land, but there are a lot of cases where these builds landed below kind of our target. So we're not looking to go back to pre last patch where we brought everything down, but we are expecting that most builds should land a lot closer to each other.
Yeah,
There's
like
a lot that
40k is fine.
Gotcha. Cool. Seems like we have a lot of obviously some targeted sort of Dragon Hunter changes, but that doesn't really seem to be making it a specific build necessarily enabled. A few PvP changes there, maybe just kind of some better utility, some better quality of life there. Are we kind of happy with where Guardian builds are right now, and we're kind of just looking at some usability improvements? We're not really trying to force any new roles or buff any particular specs.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I'd say.
Cool.
Guardian is quite good.
We do love Guardian. All right. I believe that will wrap it up for Guardian. So moving on
Woo!
to favorite green, we've got Necromancer. Necromancer expert Taylor, I believe, is going to take this class. He does love green specs, so
I see axe buffs.
The axe buffs. Oh my
I guess
god.
talk about the axe and the focus. These are basically their cooldown reductions getting rolled in baseline from the trait, which we'll talk about in a second. So these are around 20%, give or take. Life Siphon here. Basically, the heal effectiveness while you're bleeding.
Okay.
Especially in PvE or when there's supports around you. Sometimes you inflict bleeding on yourself and you're like, oh, I'm going to heal more. And then they remove it from you and you're like, oh, I'm healing less. So it's kind of a moment that didn't feel great. So we're just rolling it in baseline.
Hopefully axe will be usable.
So should feel better.
I wonder what they're doing with that trait.
And then Oppressive Collapse. A few skills, when you try and press them, normally when you press a skill, it'll try to turn and face your target and then use a skill. But some skills, if you weren't facing your target, it'd just get mad at you and be like, we're not doing that. So Oppressive Collapse was one of those, and we're now changing it to work how every other skill does. So should feel a lot easier.
Finally.
To collapse. If you take your hands off the movement keys and press it, you'll turn and use it. Yay.
And that is the technical reason, right? Is the skill getting mad? Versus the skill
yeah. It actually gets mad at us, and we have to make it feel better.
The alternative was to pop up like an angry face when you did it, but we figured we would just, fix the skill.
It's had an attitude adjustment.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right.
Yep. These also some miscellaneous changes. Ooh. Taste of Death. We are reducing the Blood Fiend health sacrifice from 100% to 50%. So you will not kill your Blood Fiend when you take health from it. Only a little bite from it. A lot of this is, now you can use on-heal relics with it, so you can use more. If you have some able to heal your Blood Fiend, you can use it twice before it dies, or you can use it even a third time. So Blood Fiend getting a little bump. It was tired of people just killing it when they got tired. Epidemic. This is a bit spicy. Epidemic has had a history of being a very strong skill. It has had some very strong nerfs to it, but we like Epidemic existing, and we want to make sure that there are still some use cases for it. So we are,
Epi is still so bad.
Now it's 5. There's a lot of numbers in that. So surely bumping it up a bit, we'll find the number.
Corrupt boon buff.
Right now, Epidemic
8
boons. Again, we want to make sure it's something people are interested in using. So bumping it up to 8.
I remember the Epi bounce.
Corrupt boon, also something, we want to make sure that when you get hit by Corrupt boon, it feels really bad. And when you use Corrupt boon, it feels really good.
Epi SH.
A turning point skill. And so we're increasing the number of boons converted.
That's
from 5
crazy.
to 8. That should hit a lot of them.
I'll use that now.
Really
okay, we're getting closer to Ritualist.
Should see some interesting play. Like Epidemic, it is an iconic skill to Necromancer, and want to make sure those iconic skills are being used.
Very cool, very cool. I love to see come up with more numbers from between 5 and 25 in the future. We'll see
this is an old skills and balance team saying at ArenaNet that there's, and this is paraphrasing an old skills team designer, but there's a number between 1 and 1 million where the skill feels right.
Very fair.
I don't know if Epidemic will get up to 1 million though. We'll
shooting for the moon.
A little bit too high.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Continuing on.
Fightful Talisman, that's what we were talking about, where the cooldowns are getting rolled baseline, and now this trait is getting kind of
Oh my
split
god,
functionality,
Scourge changed for the
where
first
it's
time
starting
in
with
4
the
years.
baseline, and then it's going to be further increased against a boonless foe. This kind of, we're putting a lot more boons on things in PvE to make it more interesting for boon rip, but sometimes when you have a large damage bonus locked behind them being boonless, it can feel bad to play around sometimes, sort of making sure that you still get some value. You still want them to be boonless to keep the identity of the trait, but it's not just fully hosing you. Um,
No
then
death
we have some
magic
death
damage
magic mages,
buffs.
Dark Defiance. It's getting reworked and renamed to Dark Defense. This is just so we can change the trigger on it. When you're being disabled, that's not really a trigger we like anymore. So now it's going to operate when you use a healing skill. You're still going to have that passive that protection reduces incoming condition damage, but you're also going to get protection and carapace when you use a healing skill.
Ooh.
Corruptor's Fervor. This was a trait that before it gave like full pulsing protection when you were above the threshold, and that was just very strong. And we were like, okay, how do we nerf it? And we made it so it wasn't
Oh no,
all
the
the time,
ads.
but it was really weird because you'd had it like 50% of the time. And
It's
it was
okay,
really
we haven't
good.
gotten
Now
to
it no longer
Ritualist
gives
yet.
protection. It's going to grant its own unique damage
Reaper
reduction based on the
buff.
threshold. So that way we can still have it
Condi
something
Reaper
we can count on.
is
It's
getting
just not going to
buffed.
be as strong as protection would be. Do note that it does now stack with protection. So if you have, if you take Dark Defense, use your healing skill, and then have this bonus, you're going to be reducing even more damage than you were before. So hopefully finding a way to make it feel better to play around and with. Soul Eater, this is just a very small buff in PvE. It was one of those profession specs that we were talking about that landed just a bit lower than we like. This shouldn't be anything too big. And then Manifest Sandshade, we are increasing both the cooldown and the duration from 8 to 15 seconds in PvE. At 8 seconds, it felt like you were constantly pressing the skill. It was just a bit too fast. So now 15 seconds, it doesn't feel like you're always having to manage keeping your shade up. It should hopefully feel better. 15 seconds to what is in the competitive modes, we feel like it works there. So should feel better to play Scourge, like you aren't constantly micromanaging your shades.
Very cool.
And then the last thing for
What?
Pro, we have Harbinger.
Last thing.
Working their Grandmaster tier.
No Condi Ritz.
It was you're going to pulse something.
No.
And we can do better than that. So Cascading Corruption is being reworked. It is now going to be a trait that
I'm so sad.
Blight. When you consume Blight, you're going to gain yourself stacks of this Cascading Corruption, and then when you reach the stack threshold, you're going to explode. Something we like doing before getting stack threshold. So when you explode, you're going to do damage and increase your damage for a duration. This is going to be both a condition damage and power DPS trait. So if you're going to be a damage harbinger, you're going to look for this one.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
No, literally.
Cooldown reduced and both power increase, and now we're going to inflict torment. We want this to potentially be a DPS skill that you use. And elixirs are going to help consume, so you're going to reach the stack. You're going to consume more blight, get more stacks, so hopefully some synergy between elixir of risk and the specific remaster trait. Deathly haste being reworked. The end result is going to be the same what it is now. You're still going to give people quickness at this like measured pace. But hopefully with just a bit more control, you're going to grant boons to allies when you're into Harbinger Shroud and when you use Dark Barrage. It says boons here because it is no longer going to give quickness in a world versus world. Harbinger supports were something we didn't really like the gameplay style of. They like sat in Shroud and pulse quickness to everyone.
The Harbinger
really do anything themselves.
elite Grandmaster traits are actually good now. Like they're actually fun.
Build giving quickness like that just really isn't something we were interested in. So no longer going to be able to give quickness that way in World v World. In PvE and PvP, these are still going to give quickness, and hopefully, numbers. Making sure that the
delete quickness
will be able
from
to
Harbinger.
do around the same loops to get the same amount of duration. This is just making it a bit more active than just pulsing. Then lastly, we have Doom Approaches. This one is going to make your Blight reduce more of your health and accumulate faster while in Shroud, and in exchange, your Shroud skills are improved. So this one is intended to be pretty risky. Harbinger, its Blight health reduction has been slowly reduced in a lot of game modes over time, but with this trait, we want to increase the risk again to go back to that philosophy. This way you can opt into it. So when you go in Shroud, your health is going to become a lot lower, a lot faster, but the skills shall be stronger. There are things like Dark Barrage is going to shoot more missiles. The 3 skill Devouring Cut is going to corrupt boons. Voracious Arc is going to inflict fear. The Vital Draw, larger radius. So hopefully, it's going to be someone's doom, whether it's yours or the enemy's. That's to be told. But pretty excited to
It is
see
approaching.
these traits, and hopefully Harbinger Grandmaster is a lot more interesting to play with.
Doom is inevitable.
Yep.
Kind of similar to Guardian, it feels a little bit like, we're not seeing sort of a role sort of being targeted here in terms of a buff or a nerf. We're kind of just seeing some usability improvements. Obviously, a lot of specific Harbinger usability improvements here. But would you say kind of similar to what Cal was mentioning with Guardian, where, we're kind of happy with where a lot of the necro specs are, and we're kind of just trying to make them feel a little bit better?
Nope.
Yeah, I think as a whole, we really like where Necro is in a lot of places.
Ugh.
It's like, now we're tackling pain points like Harbinger Grandmasters, for example. We've known for a long time that they're not very interesting, so taking the time to rework them to be something that people can get more excited
Yeah, we gotta wait for the next balance
Awesome.
patch.
You love to see it. And what else we'd love to see is some engineer changes.
We gotta wait for
Yeah.
the next balance
I mean,
patch.
as you said, kind of with
there's so many icons.
the axe changes on Necro, this would not be a Cal balance patch if we didn't have some toolkit adjustments.
Is that a thing? I didn't know
think
that was
so.
a thing.
I'd say so.
Anyway.
I'd say, yeah, it's kind of your love child at this point.
Engineer changes. Healing Mist. Elixir Gun Tool Belt. The cooldown is 5 seconds lower than it used to be. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we looked at Elixir Gun, and we've made some improvements to this over some recent updates, and we feel that all the Elixir Gun skills themselves are in pretty good spot. But we're still not seeing a ton of Elixir Gun, especially in PvP where it used to be a really big thing.
Go.
So we wanted to bring down the cooldown of Healing Mist a little bit. This skill isn't the most powerful, but especially as a tool belt skill, it's fine to have like a weaker, lower power level skill that is just a Sunbreak, and the Sunbreak is kind of the most exciting aspect of that skill. So we're hoping this gives just a little bit more interest in Elixir Gun. Similarly, we see some mace improvements here from World.
The ritualist left in the dirt.
Like more bruisery engineer builds. We see this especially with like Amalgam or Scrapper or kind of the more
Another patch with
specs
no
thematically.
necro
Obviously,
changes
Hollow Smith Mechanist can play these
that
builds as
do
well.
anything.
We'll see some trade adjustments in this direction as well. So these were kind of after we did the trade adjustments first and figured, okay, Mace actually makes a lot of sense with these like bruisery trade updates. So just a little bit of a small damage increase, small stun duration increase, trying to make it a little bit more appealing in competitive modes. Similarly, we see some toolkit, slight improvements. Pry bar, pretty powerful skill. Reduce the cooldown a little bit. Now it's going to be set up with your box of nails. Obviously, you can immobilize with your box of nails and then hit a pry bar. Magnet sets it up pretty well. Throw wrench again, small cooldown reduction. Skills hit pretty hard, but just making them a little bit more available could make these builds or make these a little bit more exciting as utility skill options. And then we see a final note here at the bottom for all of the turret skills. They will now go on. You'll see a overcharge skill recharging. Once you place it, overcharges automatically. That functionality hasn't changed. You'll then see the overcharge cooldown kind of ticking down, and then you will be able to manually reactivate that overcharge once the cooldown has elapsed. So a little bit more, adding a little bit more active gameplay to turrets, and also eliminating the need to blow up your turrets to get that overcharge effect again. We're just going to see how this plays, and we think it could be potentially a pretty interesting update for turret skills.
Cool.
And then we see kind of the inventions updates, trade updates here. Cleansing Synergy getting some regen. We'll see a little bit of regen on Bunker Down as well. The Grandmaster Minor trait gives you the increased power and healing power when you have regeneration, but there's not a ton of regeneration sources within the trait line themselves. There is obviously that one option in the add-up slot, but we felt that there should be at least a little bit in a minor trait, because the minor trait playing into a minor trait makes a little bit more sense. But then also there's a little bit more regeneration, more of that self-sustain, ally sustain. We see some protection duration going up just a little bit. Again, increasing some supportive elements, some personal defensive elements. Bunker Down was the big one where bandages are not going to give you regen, so a little bit of extra sustain, extra regen source for those trait synergies. And then we'll also see that the mines will inflict a vulnerability. So this is kind of the definitely the Bruiser Grandmaster trait where it does some defense, some offense. We're really increasing kind of the power on both halves of that because the trait hasn't seen a ton of play since we reworked it to trigger on disable rather than on just hitting on any skill. There's some other small updates here. Mecha Legs, bringing that movement speed back. This is still going to have the resistance functionality, but just having that resistance, the trait was not quite strong enough for the invention trait line. We've seen success of resistance on dodge in other trait lines, but inventions not obviously doesn't have like the same access to the traits are different. There are some traits that are the same, but then the rest of the trait line is different, so you can't say one-to-one that this trait is fine on this class, so it's perfectly fine here. Needs a little bit of extra help here in the invention trait line. So it is getting that movement speed back on top of the resistance on dodge. And then we see Sapping Device. This is a new trait replacing Auto Defense Bomb. Just another trait that we don't really like the mechanic of dropping a smoke bomb when you get disabled. Now it's going to be a little more active, so it's going to be more that damage reduction effect as you are going to weaken enemies when you immobilize or disable them. So some nice little defensive tool updates. I would love to see some inventions, Amalgam or Invention Scrapper, Invention Hollowsmith. These type of more, like I said, bruisier builds be a little bit more effective.
All right, very cool. And that will wrap up the engineer changes. So we can move on now to Mesmer.
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 Right, so first phase here, we see staff cooldowns. These are cooldown reductions being rolled in from traits. Mesmer, the main focus, we're going to see some pretty sizable chaos trait line shifts, I think, and things that go along with it. So these are just, the staff trait and chaos cooldown reduction getting rolled in.
Cool. Very good.
Then the next page is going to be Pistol. It's a bit similar. They're getting cooldown reductions, but that trait didn't have like baseline. So the bleeding from the pistol trait is getting rolled in. So that way you can use pistol without having the trait and still feel like it's a pretty good like conditioned weapon, which a lot of them
Okay.
Duelist Discipline will still have that condition damage or that cooldown reduction. Sorry. Part of it on interrupt, we felt like that was pretty interesting to play around, and on like some of the passive
Sievert pistol.
Just baseline cooldown reduction. So it's keeping that. So that's what Duelist Discipline is going to be: is pistol skill cooldown reduction on interrupt. They are baseline getting reduced just to give it some more oomph behind it, and hopefully pistol becomes a lot more used in places we're not seeing it. I think PvP has fallen off a bit, and PvE as well. Not a lot of builds are opting to use pistol, so we really want to make sure that it's up there and an option. Then we can go on. More offhand changes. The Prestige Phantasmal Mage getting some cooldown reductions. This is more to go with another Chaos trait we'll talk about in a bit, making sure Torch is wanted as opposed to shield. We see a lot of shield usage. The block is very good, but stealth is also a pretty good skill. Phantasmal Mage also hits pretty hard if you tank it. So Blade Call, this is like how we're talking about Oppressive Collapse, how this was a skill that wouldn't face your target and it felt kind of off. So now Blade Call, when you're not facing your target, just stop moving, press it, face you, yay. Signet of Domination, we are doing some adjustments to this skill. Right now, a lot of the time in PvE, it is a skill that sits on your bar and you never want to press it. But we want to make sure that it can be used as a utility tool. You're still gonna have to sacrifice that condition damage for the build.
The Druid and the Harbinger changes were good, but
going from 45 to 25, that is a lot less.
everything else kind of boring.
So it should be a pretty good skill to press. We are also reducing the stun duration from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, just making sure it's not too crazy. But on top of that, it's also going to remove boons from the target. So it's going to be a skill pretty similar to Throw Mine and a lot of its utility. So you're going to get that stun and remove the target and remove boons from the target. In competitive modes, it'll be a pretty good opportunity to do a lot of damage if you land it. And in PvE, it's just, boss has boons, boss has a break bar, you can press this. I'll lose some damage, but that's worth a trade-off. So hopefully more interesting decision points around it. And Veil, in PvP only getting its cooldown reduced to 30 seconds. This is a skill that is a lot better in
The Veil.
and Worldly World game.
Veil Wardens confirmed.
In PvP, so just lowering the cooldown to something pretty low to see if there's ever a time where you want to use this. It didn't really warrant the 72-second cooldown, so just trying to do it some justice there.
Very cool. Very cool.
But then we
Do you
can
think
go
that more
into
skills should be like Throw Mine Tailor?
maybe not fully throw mine. Throw mine has a lot of things going for it, but Signet domination needed a bit more.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But here we can
Very cool.
see we have one trait that's not in Chaos, Vicious Expression. We talked about this before with Spiteful Talisman on Necromancer, where if they had boons, you'd lose a lot of the damage. So now the strike damage, some of it's becoming baseline, and it's going to be further increased against boonless foes. So on some of the bosses that get boons pretty frequently, you're not going to be like, wow, I just can't play Power Mesmer against it. You are going to take a bit of a DPS decrease because we still, again, want to keep the identity of this trait, but just not as punished. But then we can
Oh,
talk about Chaos. Method of Madness. The Lesser Chaos Storm is no longer going to
Chaos
this will allow us
Aura.
to heavily reduce the cooldown of Lesser Chaos Storm in competitive modes, which will be good for a trait we will get into in a second. But there's going to be some shifts. Chaotic Interruption is moving to the Master tier, and it's going to take place of the Staff trait, which is going to be
That'd be
completely
good.
reworked and called Shaper of Chaos, a new Grandmaster trait. It is going to function with Chaos Auras, where so it's going to be a Chaos Aura trait. When you grant yourself a Chaos Aura and you already have Chaos Aura, you are instead going to cause your Chaos Aura to detonate, which is kind of confusing, but basically, if you apply 2 Chaos Auras to yourself, you will do damage around yourself. It's going to give you the boons that Chaos Aura gives and also inflict conditions on nearby enemies. So this is going to be a condition damage focused Grandmaster, which was something Chaos was really lacking. We really want to make sure that if you take this trait line, it feels good. You have an interesting play style, and it further shores up its condition damage focus. So this is going to naturally synergize with Staff itself, as you have Chaos Aura there, and you have Chaos Storm that you can then leap finish through. Going to be pretty good with things like Barrage, jaunting through a Chaos
Condi
Storm,
Chrono
manipulating Chaos
needs
Auras. So there's a lot of way you can trigger this
Chaos
effectively.
Aura to do more
It is
damage, but
important
if
to note
you're
that the
spamming
Chaos
it, I
Aura
wonder
has
how
to
the
come from
uptime will
yourself. We
be.
didn't want to worry about things like other Mesmers giving everyone Chaos Auras and it would trigger just way too much. But that is we're not going to have a Staff trait anymore, but this is going to be a more generic trait that Staff is just really good with to hopefully fill that power fantasy in the trait line. Similarly, Prismatic Understanding is another Chaos Aura or Chaos trait line trait that is getting buffs. It was pretty bad, to be honest. The stealth increase is pretty good in some niche scenarios, but everything else around it was not great. So Prismatic Understanding will keep the 50% increased stealth duration. So this is all on top of it. It's now going to cause Shatter Skill 4 to grant stealth. So normally Distortion, sometimes a Harp, it's going to grant you stealth. That's pretty nice defensive. You're already going to be distorted, but getting that ability to reposition or drop aggro, what have you, is pretty nice. But on top of that, it's not going to grant random boons while in stealth. It's going to grant specifically regeneration upon entering stealth and protection and resolution upon leaving stealth. So you're going to enter stealth and get regeneration, have a moment of reprieve. There's also some regeneration hooks.
This
in
is
trait
the
line that
PvP
will
buzz
when
patch.
you exit stealth.
We
So
got
you're
3
back
months
in
to
a
do
position
Condi
to
Writ.
get protection and resolution for some
3
duration
months.
and make sure you have that, more sustain that Prismatic Understanding was meant for before. And it's going to pair nicely. We saw Torch cooldown reduction buffs, Veil buff if you want to use that for the most stealth possible. But Stealthy Mesmer is coming to you soon.
How many more classes do we have?
Better stealth sources in this patch with Thief and Mesmerate.
Yeah, it is a good question there I saw in chat. Prismatic Understanding, the duration increase will only work for
They didn't change
stealth
anything
sources
about
now, but the
Ritualist.
boons
Like,
when you enter and leave will be any stealth
we
source.
didn't even get a slide.
All right.
What are they doing
we
behind the
almost got
scenes? What if they're doing it?
Yep. Last thing
They're getting it ready for the next
Mesmer is
patch.
Virtuoso. This is
Clearly.
changing where the unblockable is. Unblockable is something we think Virtuoso, really needs to perform in some scenarios, but Psychic Riposte was just way too much. And we did a lot of thinking, and we felt like the triggers we like putting on traits, none of them were proper for what we wanted the unblockable cadence to be. So we're shifting it to a utility skill. Psychic Force is getting a bit of a rework in what it does. It's no longer going to be that CC that knockbacks enemies.
Oh no.
Break stun, and instead will cause
Push
Blade Song to be block,
Virtuoso.
increasing the damage on it,
R.I.P.
the strike around you is going to do a lot more. And then we're also increasing the ammo count. So this way we can have a lot better control over how often virtuosos can make their blade songs unblockable, and also ask them to commit a bit more resources to getting that ability. And we think that it'll make virtuoso playing it and playing against it feel more healthier, that you now know better the cadence of how much they're going to get that unblockable, but they still have access to it, so they're still viable in situations like world versus world.
Cool. Awesome. All right. I think, as you mentioned, that'll wrap up Mesmer. So we've got to our final class here, Elementalist, which means I think we're
Sword
about
For
buffs.
last.
A lot of LE changes, a lot of slides here. So yeah, we've got
There are a lot of slides.
lock in for these LE changes. And I think we're gonna shake things up a little bit, and actually Taylor's going to
Just vote. Just vote. Just vote.
We're gonna split them because there's quite a few slides.
Once we get to a certain part, there's going to be a lot to talk about, and then I'll let Cal rant about that.
Yeah.
But the first part, these are just damage increases. After the balance.
Yeah, it
patch,
was
there's
fun
lot of
doing a
elementalist weapons
DPS
not being where we think they should be. So see
pusher
fire sword getting increases.
for
If we get to the next
SH2.
slide, we're going to see a lot of hammer skills getting damage increases. And then after that, we're going to see a lot of dagger skills getting damage increases. There's not a lot of talk
Dagger?
about
This
for
looks
the
like a
specifics, it's just
hammer.
we think these weapons should do more damage, so we're making them do more damage. After the hammer and the
Is
dagger,
it
we'll see
this-
spear as well, just getting some
okay.
slight damage.
They're
increase.
just buffing
And
everything.
as well, Inferno is
What
getting
is
a
going
buff.
on?
Again,
And
this
no
is a
Condi
very
writ,
powerful trait,
by the
what are
way.
your thoughts?
At least have like 10 million
We
builds
wanna
on
make sure
every
these
single
are
class,
changes
but
that become just a
still
little
can't
bit
have
too
Condi
weak, so
writ.
buffing it up a bit. Yeah, if you want to go to the next
Yeah,
slide. Yep, there
just
is.
giving people a moment to,
Yeah.
to really
Also,
digest
I know we're going fast.
the numbers changes.
When we finish the stream, as we said, the notes will be on the forums for people to check
There's
out.
probably gonna be a
Anything
change
people missed.
to
Um,
traits.
but
there-
The gist
yeah,
of the
that
changes is, Scepter landed pretty well in a lot of cases for what we were
They just
hoping.
want to switch everyone
But
off
a
a
lot of the other
scepter.
early weapons and even Inferno, a lot of the Inferno builds did not really hit where we were hoping. So
Inferno buff.
Notice,
like with all the other
Wow.
changes, the goal is just kind of bring them more in line with other options.
I noticed all of the power coefficient changes on the elemental slides we've seen so far have just been PVE only. Are there any weapons that we feel like are under or overperforming in any of the competitive modes that we were looking at all with this patch, or we're kind of happy
Ice
with where they are,
bow.
or we want a little bit more time to kind of see where they're landing?
I think in competitive modes, I know in Warfare Support in particular, Spear is very powerful. And again, reiterating something we talked about at the beginning of the stream, is that a lot of our competitive specific changes, more for downward adjustment, are not fully ready to be shown yet. I know we went over Ranger Untamed was another one,
Oh.
but a lot of people were a bit of question marks that things were missing. Wanted to make sure people know that we're aware of these, and that we do plan on adding some changes. They're just not quite ready to be shown yet. And I know Spear Catalyst is another one we have our eye on specifically.
Cool. All right, so moving into the non-just PVE number adjustments, I think this is where Cal can take over.
Yes, I will talk about Weaver. There's actually a lot of Weaver changes.
Weaver.
And there's a new skill that
A new skill.
there's an icon that no one would recognize
Whoa.
here on the slide. But so kind of the main goal for this page, talking about a lot of stance updates. Our goal for stances is that most of them, Primordial stance is still going to be an ammo skill, but we felt that the ammo component of a lot of the Weaver stances was not really adding a lot of depth or not really adding a lot of gameplay. It was just kind of there. And obviously it is, it affects the power level of the skill, whether or not it has ammo, but it also, we felt that the stances were forced to be a little bit less impactful than we would like, just because they do have ammo. So our goal here is to really
I
pump up
played
a
Weaver
good
too
amount of
much.
the stance power level, but bring them down.
I
on
miss
ammo,
Staff
just a little bit more
Weaver.
controlled, and hopefully some more exciting.
I guess you
mechanics
could
here.
play
So you see a squatter
Spear
stance,
Weaver now.
obviously healing goes up,
And it'll be
endurance
like
goes up.
similar to Staff Weaver.
The stance bonus has changed. Instead of being the ally heal, it's now going to give some endurance back every time you dodge. It's obviously not going to be a full
I'm just
dodge,
mad about
but
no
you will be
Condi
able
writ
to,
still.
generate additional endurance, so you'll be able to dodge more frequently. And this was kind of the ability to heal allies is not something that Weaver really should be doing from our perspective. It's always been more of that like selfish, super like glassy in some cases, but more of that personal DPS. There is some personal defense, obviously, but it's not really supposed to be a support class or a support spec. So this is something I felt a little bit out of place. So as we were looking at stances, we felt that we could do something a little bit more interesting with the bonus, refunding some endurance and dodge. Twist of Fate. This skill didn't really have a stance effect tied to it. It just did its thing. There was no persisting stance bonus. So now it will have a persisting stance bonus that will prevent movement impairing conditions from being applied for the duration.
Oh, the rotation.
Conditions on activation, and of course reducing the emission from 2 to 1. As the skill is now a lot more powerful. Stone Resonance. This is going to now also grant you protection in addition to its previous effects, and also increase the effectiveness of protection on you for the duration. So a nice little defensive damage reduction skill. Barrier can come up a little bit in PvP. There's something that got hit pretty hard between the 2 ammo and the trait trigger. It generated just a bit too much barrier for like those tanky Weaver builds, but now that there's only going to be one source of this or one ammo of this skill, it can come up a little bit. Definitely be keeping an eye on this to make sure it lands at kind of the right place. Unravel. This skill is no longer available as a utility skill. It's been replaced with Fervent Stance. We are reducing the ammunition from 2 to 1. That might come into play later. We'll get to that on a different slide. But you can no longer pick Unravel as a utility skill. But you can now pick Fervent Stance, which will give you quickness, fury, and swiftness on activation. And then for the duration of that stance, it will grant you might every time you use a dual attack skill. So more of that personal, like big damage. You see these quickness skills on a lot of professions. They're usually pretty big moments, pretty impactful moments, and we thought that Weaver would be a good place to put that as we were looking to replace Unravel.
Yeah, just a point of clarity. Some of these have pretty high cooldowns to account for their ammunition. Are we planning on reducing them when we make them only 1 ammo?
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of... I don't know how they missed the slide. They probably missed the preview post as well. But there will be cooldown adjustments in a lot of these cases as well.
Cool. Good to know. Very good catch. Thank you, Taylor. Yeah. Moving on to more Weaver skills.
All right. So now we got a lot of updates to dual attacks. There's a lot of dual attack skills that haven't been updated since they were first added to the game. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are definitely a lot of them that feel a bit dated in terms of like whether it's power level or just quality of life skills. So we'll see. Here's the staff page, but we'll see
increase
a lot of updates
the
to
projectile
speed. A lot of
speed.
weapons, just as some sneak preview. So Pressure Blast. This is a staff skill. This had just really difficult to use because it would heal allies as the projectile passed through them. Now it's just going to do its explosion at the landing point, and that's going to be where it heals allies. It's also going to give yourself a little bit of additional healing when you strike an enemy. So this will allow you to kind of double up on the self-heal. If you are next to an enemy and you throw the Pressure Blast at your feet, hit an enemy, you will get the healing from the explosion as well as the heal from striking an enemy. So it could be a nice little sustainy skill for Weaver.
That could be fun.
Healing numbers going up, casting time coming down, just a lot of usability improvements on top of making the skill just a little bit more powerful. Plasma Blast, projectile speed increase. We'll see that in a number of places where there are quite a few very slow projectiles on Weaver dual attacks.
The Shackles Relic on Core Necro could be interesting too.
Lahar, this is going to get a bit of a power increase here. The first pulse of the skill will now immobilize enemies. It's not going to be a pulsing immobilizer or anything like that, but it will give you a little bit more of that crowd control at the beginning of that skill. We also see Monsoon getting a pretty significant rework here. Instead of being like...
Isn't there one more staff dual skill?
We're going to have just a nice little knockback that's going to inflict some debilitating conditions as well. We get the chill. We get a good amount of vulnerability on that. So that's just going to be a nice little CC. Staff, more intended to be that a lot of AoE damage, a lot of crowd control. So we felt that there were some cases where we could add a little bit more crowd control to this weapon to really flesh out that playstyle. Moving into Scepter, we'll just see some, again, nice little improvements to Scepter skills. Fiery Frost, going to get a little bit more of evade distance. It was a pretty short evade, not necessarily something that you like on your ranged weapon. You want to create a little bit more space. This will
Increase the
also
stun
remove those repairing
duration.
conditions on activation. So nice little escape skill on Fiery Frost.
We are getting
Drift,
Fresh
again,
Air
so much
Weaver
bounce speed.
back.
We're gonna add days on that. Nice little utility bonus there. Stun duration up on Earth and Synergy, and Stone Tide going to get cripple on the first pulse. So similar to Lahar, but not going to be that full immobilize. It's going to be a cripple to, again, give you a little bit more opportunity to create space on Scepter. We have some dagger updates, Steam Surge, the field duration is going up. That's going to give you a little bit more opportunity to blast finisher or combo finisher in that field. And obviously the healing is attached to the pulsing field as well. So this is also a increase to the amount that this skill heals. And then we see a little
I'm gonna be
damage
right back.
increase. This isn't really intended to be a big damage skill, but we felt like it could come up a little bit as we were looking at just improving the skill as a whole. Katabatic Wind. This is getting a kind of a mini rework where right now the skill just comes out very quickly. It does that daze, does a little bit of damage. We felt that it comes out just a little bit too fast. It's not really reactable, so we don't want to put a lot of damage on the skill or a significant daze on the skill. So the way that it works now is that there will be kind of two parts. You'll still have that very quick initial explosion that'll do a short daze and a little bit of damage, but then there will be a second delayed hit that will do additional damage and a longer daze. Ashen Blast kind of getting a similar functionality shift here where it's going to become a two-part skill. Same idea where the part of the skill that needs to come out quickly is the blind, but that kind of limits our opportunity to put damage and burning on the skill because we don't want that unreactable high damage skill. So instead, this will be a two-part skill where you will swing out a burst of this Ashen Blast that will do low damage and blind, and then you'll follow up with a second hit that will do more damage and do that burning. Then we see a little bit of a trait shuffle here. Elemental Polyphony. This gave kind of a temporary vitality boost, not something that we're a huge fan of. So we've shifted that over to the minor master tier trait. Will now also give you vitality in addition to the barrier trigger. And then Elemental Polyphony will instead give condition damage as the Earth Attunement bonus.
Very nice.
Still a lot of Weaver traits to talk about. Don't worry. So we've seen Weaver traits are kind of in this weird spot where some of them are really good and some of them are not really good, and then some of them are very low power because of other traits that exist. So that's kind of what happened here. We see Weaver's Prowess and Swift Revenge as the master tier DPS traits are both getting reworked into things that are not DPS traits. And that's because Elements of Rage, you look at the number on this Grandmaster damage trait, and it's like a tiny damage bonus just because that's where it has to be to make Weaver balanced. But we felt that we could add a little bit more utility into the master tier slot here, bump up Elements of Rage, which we will see on the next slide probably. And then really make it so you have that highly impactful, strong Grandmaster trait without blowing out the overall power level of Weaver. So we see some stuff shuffling around here. Elemental Pursuit instead of just going to get a full rework here. Swiftness on disabling enemy and increased swiftness. Effectiveness. This is something that used to be on Woven Stride, but we'll see that trait change. There's a lot of Weaver trait changes, so I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but now we're going to see Elemental Pursuit a little bit more controllable here by making it only on disabling an enemy. So we felt that we could put a little bit more value here as opposed to having that internal cooldown on the trait before, because it was super speed and it was sourced by quite a few different things. Obviously, the inhibiting conditions as well would trigger it. So now it's just going to be a little bit more consistent, but not have that internal cooldown. And the swiftness will still be pretty relevant as we get further down the trait line. Superior Elements, getting a little bit of a crit strike bonus. As a spoiler, Elements of Rage will no longer grant precision because it got some other new functionality. So this is
I
just to
really
balance
thought
out
that there was gonna be
predictions,
Condi Rit.
make sure that it is still about where it needs to be.
I'm still on
many
that.
favorite traits to talk about. So
I'm
I'm going
so
to take
sad.
a water break mid slide.
Very fair.
Unfortunate.
It's okay. I think you've done a good job so far, Cal. I'd say you've earned it.
There's a lot
I can
of
sign off on
Weaver
this water
updates.
break, a hydration break, if you will.
Please hydrate. It's pretty hot here today. Okay, Weaver's Prowess. This trait has moved. It is now in the bottom adept tier slot. It will grant you resistance when you attune to a single element. So the same trigger that we do use on Elements of Rage. We think it's a pretty cool trigger, but it's not really used anywhere else. So Master's Fortitude. That trait also getting reworked. We don't really need the vitality there anymore because we've now put the more consistent vitality bonus on the minor trait. So we felt that there's more opportunity to do more reworks there. So having the more interesting, potentially very powerful resistance source in that slot instead. And then we see Master's Fortitude moves to that slot that Weaver's Prowess used to be in. That's now going to grant you barrier when you dodge, which might sound familiar. That trait used to be a Grandmaster trait that has also been reworked that we'll get to soon. It's just something that is not super interesting as a Grandmaster trait. This is a common theme in a lot of our trait reworks over this patch and patches over the last year or two even, is that we see there's a lot of traits in the game that are fine power level wise, but they're just not interesting. And especially on the Grandmaster tier, we're looking for those traits that give you either playstyle shifts or like very powerful moments. And Invigorating Strike's really not one of those traits. So as that trait's getting reworked, we still like the barrier on dodge. That is something that is valuable for more defensive focused Weaver builds, but it's not a Grandmaster trait. So it's now, now it's a Master trait. And last up, we have Swift Revenge. Again, getting that full rework. This is going to grant you additional bonuses. These are personal bonuses when you use a dual attack based on the elements. Obviously, dual attacks have 2 elements, so you will be getting 2 different bonuses for each time you use a dual attack. For example, if you use a fire-water dual attack, that will grant you might and also remove a condition from yourself. And we see air giving some swiftness and endurance coming from earth dual attacks.
What's the best combo?
Again, a nice little best combo.
Yeah.
Depends what you're looking for. Water air will be pretty good if you take Woven Stride.
Yeah. What are you looking for?
Obviously, pretty good. What am I excited for?
I said, what are you looking for?
What am I looking for?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the spider. Haven't seen the spider for a while, so just keeping an eye out.
Okay, I guess.
But again, like I said,
get through this.
The Master tier is a bit more utility focused because there is going to be more damage coming out of the Grandmaster slot. So our goal with these, just to be clear, our goal with these changes is not to reduce the overall damage that Weaver deals, even if there are fewer specific traits that say your damage is increased in some way. But let's move on.
Last but not least,
we have
final slide.
3 Grandmaster traits, all getting some amount of shuffling or adjustments. So here's Elements of Rage, no longer giving their precision. We've rolled some of that into other traits, superior elements. Now you're going to get access. Unravel is back. It's no longer available as a utility skill, but if you trade into Elements of Rage, you will now get an additional profession skill, which will be Unravel, which is the same skill that you guys all know and love. Our thought process here is that Unravel is a really interesting skill. It's like probably one of the most interesting skills that Weaver has, but it's also very specific, and it's like so hard to actually justify slotting over something else in the utility slot. And there are fringe cases where we have seen Unravel get a little bit of play, but it's really not a reliable, this is something I always want in my build at the cost of some other utility skill. So the idea is like, well, what if Unravel wasn't a utility skill and just got it as part of a Grandmaster trait? Plays really well with Elements of Rage, obviously. The trait that cares about you being attuned to one element now will always have access to the skill that says you are attuned to one element for a period of time. So this could give a lot of interesting rotational adjustments, like how are you going to play around having Unravel. Obviously, it's going to
additional
just be 1 ammo. It's not
profession
gonna be 2 ammo, but it will
skill.
be the single use of Unravel every so often. You can use that to really, fire off those really powerful slot 3 skills for burning speed. You can now get access to your burning speed because you have access to Unravel. Pretty interesting stuff. We're hoping that it's pretty exciting in how it plays out as well. And then we do see the damage bonuses getting increased here because, we do want the power to be coming from Elements of Rage, the super cool Grandmaster trait, and not necessarily just the critical mass of damage dealing traits. Woven Stride, talk about this one next. This no longer has an internal cooldown. Previously, it did have an internal cooldown of how often it could cleanse conditions and how often it would give you conditions for.
Is there anything left? Can I open the game?
Getting inhibiting conditions on you.
Yeah, they did thief like
the thought here
second.
Is that the internal cooldown had to exist because
second after warrior.
Trigger that gave you swiftness, because it would otherwise infinitely cleanse movement impairing conditions from yourself, and that's probably an issue. But it does really reduce the overall strength of the trait as well. So we wanted to get rid of that internal cooldown, so it's also not going to have that baseline swiftness effectiveness. But that does mean that every time that you use an air duel attack with Swift Revenge, or every time you disable an enemy with Elemental Pursuit, it will trigger Woven Stride, which is a condition cleanse and regeneration on yourself. So now that there's actually less functionality here, but it's a much more powerful trait in the cases that you really want it to be, because you can now trigger it a bunch of times in a row. Powerful cleanse trait, some regeneration value as well, getting some sustain. We think that the trait is pretty interesting. It just needed this. This is essentially a very large usability improvement of the trait, which was previously not really usable. So, we'll see if people actually pick this up, if it actually plays as well in practice as we think it will in theory with the other trait synergies. Maybe it still needs a rework, but we think this trait's pretty cool, and we really want to see how it goes. And last but not least, Invigorating Strike, getting reworked and renamed to Flow State. Reduced recharge time of attunements and dual attack skills. Dual attack skill recharge will be this pretty standard 20%, which historically is not a thing that we find super interesting, but the attunement recharge reduction here is going to be a flat 1 second off, and that will stack.
They pinned it. Oh my god.
And I will get ahead of it and say that when you are under the effects of Weave Self, this trait will not do anything to reduce the recharge time of your attunements. We felt that 2 seconds is kind of the floor, and Weave Self is like the really impactful moment and the really interesting moment already. So having that 2 second floor of Weave Self, but then whether you have
what is going
on? 1 second reduction off of your attunement recharge time, which obviously gives you like a lot more depth or a lot more opportunity and like a lot more options in terms of how you actually flow through all the different attunements. So even if cooldown reduction traits are not things that we typically think are interesting, that's generally because we feel like they don't really add a lot to gameplay, and they just cause more problems than the value they provide. But with something like attunement recharge, that gives a lot more rotational depth, or like interesting ideas that can be done with Weaver especially. So we think that this is actually a really cool and fun and interesting trait, even if it is just a cooldown reduction trait on its face.
Cool. I'd say, we're seeing, a similar trend through a lot of these classes, Guardian, Necro, now Elementalist, where I would assume we're not really trying to shift roles necessarily for Weaver, but we're seeing a lot more attention to Weaver maybe than like some of the other ones. It's getting a much, I'd say, bigger rework. A lot of these traits getting shifted around. Obviously, a new profession skill with one of these Grandmaster traits. Do you feel like Weaver was kind of left behind at some point, and it required a lot more attention, or is it just kind of the nature of Elementalist, where it has way more skills? Obviously, all the dual skills, all the different attunement skills and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of dual skills. Weaver, it's always been like good. It's been hit or miss in PvP for a long time over its existence, where sometimes it's been very good, sometimes it's been not so good. So the power level's always been there, but I feel like there's been a lot of things that just haven't been updated for a long time, and that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes we are pretty happy with things, and that's why they don't get updated. But I think, like we saw in a lot of cases with either Weaver traits or Weaver dual attacks, these are things that really did need some either usability improvements or power level increases, or we just need more interesting traits in this trait line. So there are a lot of Weaver changes because we went into this patch saying, hey, let's take a look at Weaver. We actually found a lot of things that it's like, okay, well, there are a lot of individual skills and traits that we should be updating on Weaver. And
Cool.
so we did.
Awesome. We'd love to see it. Very exciting though. A trait giving a new profession skill, I think, is a pretty unique thing here for.
Well, it's been done before.
Well,
Those
fairly
traits
unique.
are
We'll say fairly
not
unique.
not for elementalists, but
Yeah.
we do find that these traits are pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I think that actually wraps things up for us.
We did actually wrap things up.
Indeed. Any final words or thoughts? I know we've obviously spoken a little bit. We mentioned, Taylor mentioned this. We got some competitive downward adjustments potentially pending after this preview. As always, we'll be looking at feedback from this balanced stream. As Calho said, we will be posting all of the notes that you just saw to the forums at the conclusion of the stream momentarily.
I'm just going to post it right now.
Cal's gonna. Wow, we're doing it live.
Doing it live.
That's crazy.
Let me go
Yeah,
post
click
on the
button.
forums.
You guys can go read it on the forums.
I love reading.
I have submitted the topic. It is pinned in the profession section, as it always is.
Very good. All right. Yes,
Someone's
any
already
final
here,
thoughts or final
so
words?
there you go. Any final words? As always, we're really looking for feedback on this stuff. We obviously feel good about all the changes that make it to this point. There's a lot of things that get cut much earlier because they're just insane or bad or whatever reason. Once we get to this point, we feel pretty good about the state of the patch, but we're always looking to make things better, and that's really where the community comes into play. I feel like I say this every single time, but it is just good to reinforce this, that there is so much depth to this game that a lot of the time there will be things that get missed internally, or there are other things that should be looked at internally, and that's really why we, as much as it is just fun to be on streams and like talk to the community and do all that stuff, which I think is part of it, but really the important part of doing these streams and doing these previews is because we know that the patches won't be perfect, and they won't be perfect post feedback either, but our goal is to make the patches as good as we can, and we found that community feedback is insanely valuable to that end. So we do want you guys to go on the forums, go on social media, give your thoughts, give your feedback. We'll be reading it. We do make adjustments, and we don't necessarily action every piece of feedback, but we do read it all. And sometimes that ends up being things that we see and we can't do it for this update, but it gives us ideas for a future update. We really do. It's just a broken record here, but we do find the community feedback invaluable, and that's why we do these previews, really.
Absolutely. Very well said. Taylor, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I was excited to show the changes we had today, excited to see all the feedback around it. I think we have a lot of pretty interesting reworks in this patch. Weaver, pretty exciting, some of the Deadeye changes, the Warrior changes. So pretty exciting for this patch to come out.
All right, very cool. Yes, make sure you give your feedback. Thank you, everyone, very much for tuning in and watching the stream.
I'm writing a
Today.
post.
We had a lot of stuff to go through and a lot of thoughts to get out there. So exciting times. And yeah, as always, forum post is already up. Cal is doing awesome work there. So please feel free to go and comment there. Give us your feedback. We'll be looking out for it. But until next time, as always, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you in the mists. Bye-bye.
Mistbound card game confirmed. Okay, y'all. I'm making my forum post. I'm gonna say, let me put on my music. Hold on. Okay. The perfect example of different rotations while playing Paladin. Condi is Reaper with the very different skill priority and rotation. Even if the weapons are similar. And another option would be death magic interactions with spirits as well. And so not all PV DPS necromancer specs will take so beating for and spite slash curses. The damage buff that was removed from explosive growth in the first balance patch after VOE came out could be added to death magic and the Grandmaster Death Nova could interact with spirits and make it better to destroy them. This in combination with soul twisting and wanderlust doing damaging conditions would change the rotation significantly from Power Ritualist, making it meaningful to play. Yeah, that t-shirt was pretty good. I was looking at it. Is it in the merch store? Should get one. Doomfire can be reworked to be similar to the new Harbinger. GMs, possibly. No, Doomfire can be reworked to work with spirit autos. Auto attacks. Even though I just said that I don't want them to be taking soul reaping. If death magic should remain a tanky, what is it called? Specialization. I posted it. They better read it. And they better add it in 3 months. ArenaNet. Look at this. High effort, correct grammar. Period. Okay. We did it. Anyways, well, since there's no changes to Condi Rit, I guess we just keep playing Condi Rit. Oh my goodness. Did I win 2 of the giveaway things? Nice gear. Okay. What these? No, I hate typing it out. Can I sell it? Just gonna sit there and girl, find the notes. That's how it's done. Oh, I can get a piñata in my house. Okay. Yay. Wait, you guys didn't get to see my new pistol. The sound is so much less annoying than the Jormac pistol. Oh my god. It has like the little Zaitan sound effect. So cute. Okay. I still need to get the legs. Yeah. It's good. And then look at my shroud. My shroud autos don't look stupid anymore. They're still like a little skinny, but no, it's like you can't win them all.
Take heed. I haven't taken leave of my senses. I've seen
Skinny legends. The twink bullets. But like, look at how big the scepter ones are. The scepter is literally perfect for ritualists. The footsteps are the same color. And the auto attacks are the same color as normal ritualists. Like, hello? How can they not make a Condi build? What? Like, come on. Pissing me off. I'm actually mad. They better read my post and then they better add it.
Up for a challenge?
They should add the old damage buff from this to Flesh of the Master, or they rework Flesh of the Master so when you have minions they'll reduce your health because it's like they're taking your flesh and using it for themselves. So that's one of my ideas for death magic. And then this, like, the minions deal no damage, so the damage increase is literally like pathetic. So I don't know. They should just make this 200% increase or something. And then have it work on ritualist spirits too. But then minion builds, I don't know. Still wouldn't really want to use minions. They like reworked Carapace a while ago. Deadly Strength is okay because it gives Condi damage. And then Poison Nova. If it happened when your spirits died, then you would like want to not have your spirits as much. Or you'd want them to reset with Soul Twisting, so it'll proc it once. And then when you exit Shroud, since you don't have lingering spirits, then they'll all disappear. And then it'll proc it 3 times. I don't know, still probably bad, honestly. It needs like damage modifier. They should just make this proc on spirit autos and call it a day.
Raven's my favorite. But bear too. Oh, what snow leopard is so sweet. Just be all of it.
I didn't get the new glasses. I didn't want to buy them. My Twitch check. I need more subs so I can buy the glasses. My mom is flying to Italy right now. Oh. More piñata. Battle for the Jade Sea. I kind of want to do one later. Oh. Should we do it? Suwon, let's go. "17 hours of travel." Of flying or driving? I will get invited to play Guild Wars 3 when they do the beta next September. We need more quickness. I guess I could quickness. Fine. Since I'm already on it, I don't want to swap. Food.
Concentration.
Uh-huh. Top 100 Guild Wars 2 player. I'm in the 1% of purple titles. They should invite me. And then they'll make Condi rich. I wonder what cooldown they'll add to Taste of Death. Pew! Where should we go? Yes. I'll come to the premiere of your horror movie.
Might I interest you in a discounted jade?
Obsession tease.
Brotherhood tech? No thanks. I don't have a death wish.
When are auditions?
We're fighting them off. You're on your own for now.
Oh,
Gods, it's past the coast of Kantha. Which is why we need this alliance.
there's like no one over
What's
there.
in it for me? A life free from void coming out of your every orifice. Troops, we're heading south to take back our old.
I thought we were having a good time.
South Marshal Thackeray and the reinforcements will need to be on guard. Don't worry. I personally trained these troops. They're fearless, elite, and
You hear that, everyone? The boss says I'm elite.
not you, don't.
Elite.
You're not even done
You
with
are
training.
now one of my elite
Who invited you in?
employees. Wait, y'all, I found
I did
a
it.
steel case chair
It was
in
that
the
serious
hallway
sometimes.
by the dumpster
This
in my
is
building.
Captain Fa.
I think
head of
someone
Supply
like
Jade
wanted to throw it
Security.
away. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just dirty and it has like dog hairs all over it. But I steamed it and I cleaned it. I'm still trying to get like the rest of the dog hairs out, but it's pretty much clean now, and I got a free $1,700 chair. I might get it reupholstered
Either I
because
just
it has like
ate
some
weird
holes in it.
hallucinogenic
Because
fruit,
I think
or something's not right here.
the person was stressed.
It's close to you. Please be careful.
If anyone can sense it, look out!
Mm,
Look, they're dropping little bundles of, well, something.
It's void. Quick, throw it into my prismatic crystal, and it will be cleansed. Cleansing the magic will reduce the void's intensity. It will give you a fighting chance.
the colors are crazy. Why do I turn these roleplay settings on? They make my eyes hurt.
That's the last of them.
Oh wait,
Frickin' salt spray
I didn't try a 1080. I mean, 1440. I was supposed to check for 1440 on Twitch. It's not on automatically, is it? Can someone check? I'll have to activate it after the stream, and then it'll be on for tomorrow. Worldwide.
Quick, we should keep moving. Aside from leading us directly into that ambush, I'd say you handled yourself pretty well. With more training, who knows? You could become one of us. Great. I'll sign myself up right after detaining you for the endless infractions you're wanted for. We're starting to become friends. Commander, you did well
Clocks
preparing
the
people
tea.
earlier. Looks like it freed up more troops to join us.
They need to move Wielder's Boon to here. And then move this to here. And rename it Spirit Burn. Just kidding.
Look, it's the old temple to the fallen. Hey, you okay there, friend?
We're under attack, but I managed to get away unscathed.
Unscathed? You've got a knife in your back.
R.I.P.
Okay, we better get in there and save the others. Watch those entrances.
I'm gonna post Condi Writ on every single one of the balance things until they add it. The Twitch bots are not even gonna be in 1440, were they? TikTok never responded for my live access.
There's not much time.
Whatever. I'll just stream on YouTube and Twitch. TikTok takes up so many resources. I don't know. Battle for the Jade Sea. I didn't put my util on.
Look! Enemies! I'll handle them, boss. No, ignore them. We need to keep moving south to our old base.
I need the battery.
That looks valuable.
Maybe
Oh,
we
I got
can,
2 already.
you know, reason with it. Hello, friend. I know you're having a real bad day. Nope. Some dragons aren't good listeners.
We'll need siege weaponry to break through those shields and destroy the crystals.
Okay. Let's start by clearing a path to get the equipment through.
The way is lit.
quickness. The boons.
Weaponry in there and we'll aim for the shields.
Refreshing.
The song. Oh my god. The concert was so good. My turtle skin. Hello? Get me out of combat. I want my skin.
One shield down.
Clear that first area and destroy the crystal.
Yes.
That's 2 shields down. Clear the area out.
The rest of you, target the last shield with the siege weapons.
The siege weapons. I still need to go see He-Man, Mortal Kombat. Disclosure Day, Backrooms. What else do I need to see? So many movies.
Okay, the Salt Spray Dragon's vulnerable to attack.
Eat my dust.
Oh,
Okay, you ugly bastard. We're coming for you.
let's go.
Refreshing.
Oh. Why are they like full dead?
One more thing for my list of accomplishments. It's dead. We should celebrate.
Worldwide.
Yeah, but getting our base back was a good start. Thanks.
Didn't exactly do it out of charity. You've got supplies, and it's in range of...
Why do I feel like there's...
Hey, how's everyone else doing out there?
Oh. Are they giving me boons? Let me check.
Beaker gap is secure.
So was the Jade Brotherhood base.
And we've cleared the observatory.
There's a herald and a harbinger. There's no way that
I'm going to focus my prismatic energy.
I'm
on the
not gonna
barrier
have quickness,
protecting
right?
Suwon.
Let's
We've got
see.
void popping up all around us.
Same here. It's like they're creating a blockade between all of us and the Harvest Temple. Careful. It's corrupted Elder Dragon magic that's been combined. We don't know its power. Champion, as you cleanse the previous outbreaks, I felt the magic as it was released. Maybe I could absorb it from these new void outbreaks.
But if the power of the magic is unknown, what could it do to you?
A good question, but I know one thing. I'm going to use every bit of it to break through the barrier covering Suwon. Look out! I sense the void energy increasing.
Oh, the void energy.
Make haste.
grandfather. Happy Father's Day to Krakatoric.
I now have all the Primordial's magic.
That looks valuable.
I need to look for my sub squad and see if they're giving me boons.
Wait, I'm missing an
So then I
element.
don't have to.
I sense. Grandfather! It's another void outbreak!
Proctoric. That's the element you need.
Another void outbreak.
There is only void, and a dwindling time for endurance. We are bound to the nothingness, and all will return to
Okay, they're boons. Oh my goodness.
He is one with us.
Wait, are they?
Reach out!
Scared.
Find it!
We are. Why are you here?
To release you from
Don't you realize?
destroy this barrier. Release Proctoric. It's protecting, and I will shatter the barrier protecting Suwan. Suwan!
It is time to join us.
Maureen is ready.
Okay, I have quickness. I don't have to.
As she blasts through the barrier.
You can never have too much treasure.
Canthan Ritualist Satchel. Is there a Condi writ in there?
You're kidding, right?
More void. They're surrounding us.
We're about to get overrun, and if they destroy those crystals, all is lost.
We need those reinforcements. Logan, where are you?
We're off the coast of Kim. Void's too heavy. Overwhelmed. Surrounded.
Where are the
And the
defenses?
others protect the magic contained within the crystals.
I'm just gonna get 2 because we don't need that many.
By dust. I must fly to Logan, see what state they are in. It may already be too late.
Defend the crystals. Buy or ring as much time as possible. The magic's seeping out of the crystals.
Look out! More void creatures! Urge to kill rising!
Yes, throw the things. Flop Tropica passport. Should I make a emote that's Flop Tropica passport? I ran out of emotes. I need to. I think when I get like more subs, I'll get more emotes.
That's a comment.
Is it my character holding the Flop Tropica flag? Yay.
Commander, but they're still coming.
We did it.
So many.
I brought some friends.
Miss me, Commander. Just show us what to kill.
We've got a massive barrier to break through. And
Oh. Doing yours?
We need to stop her now.
Yeah, I could do that. That'd be fun.
Pleasure.
I was thinking about swapping mine and making a new house. And having like a courtyard and stuff.
On my count. 3, 2, 1, fire!
Oh. Look at the wrists.
Stop! Don't kill her!
Facial pubes is crazy name.
But Sue Wong's in pain. Come, we must save her from herself. Meet me at the temple. Quick! To the top of the Harvest Temple. I'll be waiting for you with what's left of Sue Wong. She's above us, circling.
I only have one character slot. That's why I want to have like placeable NPCs or something. In the new map, do your alts have better collision?
Sue Wong, stay back, or we will.
Oh. The world is ending. The world is your oyster. The end will come fast, and death will be your deliverance. Second DPS. Look at us. Period. Baby shark.
Quick, stand around the impact site. I'll protect you. Tuan, listen to my voice. It's me, Maureen.
Strong. The end is the beginning. And the beginning is nothing.
That was better than I expected.
Knowledge is power.
One Direction. R.I.P. Liam.
That looks good.
Where is she? Okay. Hopefully I don't get knocked.
Close your eyes and feel it wash over.
I'm scared. Oh,
Run! She's about to snap at you!
she's about to snap at you.
Closing the gap. Feel confirmed.
Careful, she's hungry again.
I can never target her after. So ridiculous.
This magic is coming from her tail. Try attack. Maybe it'll have some effect. Flame in the dark. Watch this. Never give up. Fire, add quick. Free them from those bubbles.
CC. Okay.
She's about to send in another tsunami. Stay clear of her mouth.
Hopefully we can get it to 60 soon. The damage reduction.
Burst the bubbles before they get too high.
Okay, we're good. The undertow.
Fragments of energy. Collapse up. They'll empower us.
I'm excited for the split phase because I take more damage from Condi, so I'm gonna be like huge damage.
Keep fighting. I'm forming a weapon for you. It's nearly ready.
West. West.
Please, leave here. Before you are all destroyed.
Tuan, everything you do, we will always have an answer for it.
Not it teleporting out of my playlands, girl.
The void will never beat us if we stand together.
Huge.
Never seen such bravery. God, she's back! Look out!
No. No. Ugh. She keeps moving. Top DPS Condi rate. I like moved my spirit so far.
It's poisoning you. History is mine.
Okay, 2%, 2%. Girl, there's 0.5% left. She just did that animation for nothing.
Quick, stand around the impact site. I'll protect you.
We had a good life. Short, but good.
Do not fear your state. You are not dead, only disembodied, with senses heightened.
I added a Tyria Pride thing. So if you watch for 2 hours, you get a badge. For Tyria Pride 2026. Where are those thorn hearts? I'm freezing outside. Oh. Girl, I'm fine. Oh, she's back.
Darkness is a blessing. Close your eyes and feel it wash
For some reason, like, I somehow always die at this point. No! My plague lands! That was so rude of her. She saw me cast my plague lands and she dodged it. You're choking, you're dying. It takes so long to CC it. Isn't it better to just respawn? I didn't see you. Finally, the full plague lands. Let's go. Keep the energy flowing. Okay, east. Oh.
So, listen to me.
We're ready.
It's me, Maureen.
The Aegis. There's so much stability. I know I didn't get that. Oh!
Reach deep inside, and you will feel the
Condi Ritz. Look out for her tail.
It tortures me to say this, but hit her! Hit her hard!
She's right. Don't waste this opportunity. It has to be done.
her vigil unshaken. She's
Help them now, or she'll get the upper hand.
Oh. Wow.
I've got to go after her. See?
Look at that. Top damage. Top damage Condi Ritz.
I see it. So many dead. So much sacrifice.
I never thought I would see this day. May the gods be praised.
I never thought I'd see us all fighting as one.
I'm with Suon. Hidden
Shelter
underground.
our souls.
You can follow the trail I left. Champion. She wants you here.
I think we'll make it to a shackles. No, I missed it. I thought it was later. No. Oops. I still need to do the adventures though, so I could get the thing. Condi Ritz. It's so funny. Imagine if it was a real build, I would be doing like 22 at least.
I'll never forget how we united and emerged victorious.
But
That looks valuable.
you know, I'll just still play Condi Rit. I'm gonna go pee during this ad break. And then when it comes back, we'll be doing some adventures so I could get the last piece of the armor and I can try to get Stella. 15 resources with the logging axe. Oh, I have to go to my home instance too.
Just admit I'm stronger. Never. Got you.
I achieve things.
Oh.
I'm an achiever.
Aim for the sky. Yeah. Oh, the ad break. Okay. Let me be right back. Oh, you're pink. Secrets of the flop.
You can never have too much treasure.
Yay, my pinata is here. I really got top damage in Suwon. 8 them up. Good. That's where roller pandas deserve to be, in the basement and never seen. This jet lag's kind of eating me up.
You can never have too much treasure.
Three more. And then a rift event. I guess we could do a rift event in the new map. Issue. Oh, it's like all the way down here. Are these worth selling? No, it's like the same. I'll just start salvaging them again so I can get materials. Materials for
That looks valuable.
my amalgamated gemstone recipe so I could get research notes. Leather bag. Hermes bag.
Now I shall break you.
That looks valuable.
Oh, fixer upper. I didn't have that. That's good. Well, at least I can get that thing in Kantha now. We're getting out of the basement. You're not breaking into the mansion. I kicked you out. Oh, my mini Saris was chosen. You saw nothing. Oh, you're already there. Could teleport. Let me trade in the statues. The full set. Okay, we got nothing. No infusion drop. Let me get the rest of the nodes.
Attack my target.
What am I looking at? Oh. It's less scary than the other panda. Let me gather this with quickness. So I can... Oh. Where is heal ritualist?
Flee, you cowards. Oh, I'll have to make a...
Yes, I got my daily logging.
Give my creation life.
The blood magic skill adds Condis to Shroud 4.
That looks valuable.
And then Doomfire adds Condis to Shroud 1.
Shelter our souls. Oh, I'll have to make a...
Give me the loot. Oh, it's following you. I'm scared. What is that? I'm scared.
Go forth, my
There's just horrible mazes in your home that are scary. The scary mazes. Oh, a forged with fire. Oh, Casino Blitz. Wait, that's easier. I need to get the Choya tonic. Wait, I'm gonna do this because I want to fight stuff. Not my recharge thing still on a timer. Girl. Let me swap to quickness. Oh no. In combat.
Bring this one down.
Yes. Wait, this was the person that was in my sub squad. That was my quickness.
This factory and officer's house are under my protection. Get out or die. You will never reclaim this place. Surrender or
Oh. I'm taking commands. The inbound phases need to be destroyed. Tegan and Sarah. Oh. Invulnerable.
Refreshing.
Yay, easy. Easy. You think we'll make it to Pinata? Round one. Let's go, let's go. Oh. No worries. What time is it over there? Let me see if I can post.
Teamwork is key. The more you collect, the better everyone does.
Oh no. Oh no. Quickly, we need 6 more. Hurry.
Excellent work. We've reached the first reward.
Yes. We got it. Oh. Well, I have like steps to do in the morning. I am in NA. You chose to play with the NA person. Where are the troublemakers? I have to work out before my stream, otherwise my whole day will be ruined. I hate working out at night. But I am also kind of tired, so maybe I'll end the stream soon. I've been watching the new season of Vox Machina. It's so good. It's a little crazy. Crank it.
Our always friendly and polite casino staff are here to help.
Oh. I am iconic by mistake. Oh, is it iconic by design? Yeah, that stream was like knocked me out. And no Condi. This child needs to be punished. No! That was so nasty, the net. Troublemakers.
Amazing! We've reached the second reward tier.
Oh. Oh, Nikki, ew.
That feels good.
Where is your leader?
Refreshing.
Teamwork is key. The more you collect, the better.
I wonder if I play Power It, but with Condi weapons, how the damage would be. Usually I have it on in the background and I don't stream it, but I was really expecting Condi Rit. I'm not gonna lie.
You can never have too much treasure.
I usually watch the replay or something so I could fast forward a little bit into the necromancer spot. But I like the balance patches. But usually I can zone out until necromancer. Ooh, garlic.
Joko is probably stewing on his bone
Number
throne
one
somewhere.
girl.
I knew allying with the Sun Spears was a huge mistake.
Ah! Oh, we get these troublemakers. Where's the last one? Oh.
Nice gear.
Hiya. Yes. Green is the best color.
Congratulations! We've reached the 3rd reward tier.
Oh. But there's no green. We did it. Pinata is here. I think we did it. Oh, I could buy the Choya tonic. Where do I even buy that from? Casino Blitz. Reward. Endless Choya Pinata Tonic. Oh. Wait, that's not bad. Yes. We finally got it.
You looking for a fight?
Allying with the Sun Spears gives us all a fighting chance.
I have the axe, but I want the other one too.
Just don't tell Raheem I said that.
Hi, Outlander. Let me know if you need help getting your bearings.
And that concludes our festivities. See a member of the casino staff if you have questions about your rewards. Stay tuned for more exciting casino activities in the future. A huge thank you on behalf of the Council and Zalambur for your participation and patronage. And once again, welcome to Amnoon!
Where is the special event? Oh, there's a timer. Oops.
Eat my dust.
I'm gonna do Chak after this, and then I'm gonna maybe go to bed. Well, not go to bed, but and this thing. We did it.
That looks valuable. Well done.
King of the jungle. This waypoint is gonna hurt. Boa 20. Boa 20. Oh, 22 is full. Do we like the mushroom lane? IP 74. Oh, Stella, me soon.
Focused. Concentration.
Lend me your patient resolve.
Urge to kill rising.
Envy your patient resolve.
Someone has randomly said that there's 4 people here, but hello? There's literally more than 4. Literally, like what? Someone cannot count. Their model limits are turned so far down that they can't see anyone else. The mushrooms. One minute. We'll be fine. This is like the second map on the LFG. This meta is easy. "15 seconds. I should turn that on when I do Will Be Worlds. More experience. Let's go. I was in the glider.
That looks good.
Your soul is mine.
The nodules. The Chuck are rushing the academy.
I can't go on for long.
All right, here we go. Oh. Of the donuts. He's gonna smack. Oh, this guy is dead. Did we ever doubt? No, we did not. Scared of donuts. Donuts are horrible. IRL donuts, jump scare. Whoever invented donuts should be put in jail for war crimes. The war crimes against
Nice gear.
healthy foods. No chalk infusion. Hello. Must be a bug. Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end it because I'm tired. Maybe I'll stream tomorrow. We'll see, we'll see. There's no Condi, so I'm kind of sad. But, you know, we're surviving. Yeah, I'm gonna go, like, lie down on the couch and watch some shows. And then maybe make a little food. Well, I'll see everyone later. Hopefully they read my Condi patch notes that I made. Alright, well, I'll see everyone later. Let me go find someone to raid, actually. There's no one live right now. Maybe I should change my days to I guess I'll raid Mighty Teapot. Oh, he's looking at Necromancer patch notes. Alright, see ya. Bye, good night.